Chapter 959. Inside the Martial Arts Treasury. Qin Feiyang went straight to the second floor. On the second floor, there was a tightly shut stone door. In the middle of the stone door, there was a groove, the shape of which was exactly the same as the identity token. Qin Feiyang grabbed the identity token and pressed it into the groove. Bas! Immediately, the identity token shone brightly. In the next moment, accompanied by a low rumbling sound, the stone door slowly opened. Qin Feiyang put away the identity token and walked in. The second floor was the same as the first floor, with shelves neatly arranged on the four walls, and countless stone boxes were placed on them. Next to him, there was a staircase. This was the entrance to the third floor, and there was also a tightly shut stone door. "You're back so soon?" Just as Qin Feiyang was about to take out the jade scroll, a familiar voice entered his ears. Qin Feiyang looked over and saw a beautiful figure standing in a corner, looking at him with a smile. "Chu Xian." Qin Feiyang was stunned and said with a smile, "I didn't expect to meet you again. It seems that I have to admit that we are really fated." Hehe. Chu Xian smiled faintly and asked, "How was your harvest in the White Tiger Mountain Range?" "Not bad." Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "What about you? Did you get the battle art you wanted?" "No. Since I came back from the White Tiger Mountain Range, this is already my third time here, but the best battle art I got was only a mid-tier auxiliary battle art." Chu Xian said with a disappointed face. "Don't be discouraged, you will meet again." Qin Feiyang comforted and suddenly thought of something and said, "By the way, did you tell anyone that I was in the White Tiger Mountain Range?" "No." "Why do you ask?" Chu Xian was puzzled. "Just asking casually, it's nothing." Qin Feiyang smiled and shook his head, then walked to the center of the second floor and scanned the stone boxes on the shelf. Chu Xian also turned around and looked at the few stone boxes on the shelf in front of her. For a moment, she hesitated, not knowing which one to choose. Suddenly, she turned to look at Qin Feiyang and said, "Why don't you help me pick one?" "Me?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. Chu Xian sighed, "I really don't have much confidence in myself. Don't worry. Even if you help me pick out a low-tier battle art, I won't blame you." Qin Feiyang walked to Chu Xian's side and looked at the stone boxes. He didn't dare to make a decision. "It's okay. You can choose whatever you want." Chu Xian smiled. Qin Feiyang glanced at her. Although this woman appeared very relaxed, he could tell that she was still quite nervous. "This is it." After pondering for a moment, Qin Feiyang pointed at a stone box. Chu Xian glanced at the stone box and asked, "Are you sure?" "This is all about luck. There's nothing to hesitate about." Qin Feiyang laughed. Then, he grabbed the stone box and handed it to Chu Xian. Chu Xian gritted her teeth, took the stone box, and immediately opened the lid. As soon as the lid was opened, Chu Xian disappeared in front of Qin Feiyang. On the entire second floor, only Qin Feiyang was left. Qin Feiyang also immediately took out the soul refining technique jade slip, and then let go of his hand. The jade slip floated in the air. About 10 breaths passed. The jade slip suddenly moved on its own and flew to a shelf on the left. "It really works?" Qin Feiyang was stunned for a moment before he hurriedly followed him. In the end, the jade slip stopped above a stone box. Qin Feiyang glanced at the stone box, hesitated for a moment, and then reached out to grab the stone box and opened the lid. Inside the stone box, there was a jade slip lying quietly. "What's going on?" However, Qin Feiyang's face was filled with shock. What surprised him was not the jade slip, but that after opening the stone box, he was not expelled from the martial arts treasure house. Could it be that Elder Wang opened a back door for him? After thinking about it carefully, it seemed that this was the only explanation that made sense. Then, he threw this question aside, took out the jade slip, and immersed his mind into it. A moment later, a bright light burst out from his eyes. The battle art in the jade slip was indeed the second part of the soul refining technique. "You're right." Qin Feiyang smiled, put away the jade slip, and walked to the third floor. Outside, Elder Wang had returned. The disciples who mocked Qin Feiyang were still standing in the square. Chu Xian was also there. At this moment, she was holding a jade slip, and her beautiful face was full of joy. Elder Wang looked at her suspiciously for a moment, then smiled and said, "It seems that you finally got the battle art you wanted." Xueqi did not answer. She went forward and handed the stone box to Elder Wang, and then put away the jade slip. Elder Wang shook his head and smiled, and did not ask further. Whoosh! At this moment, accompanied by the sound of something breaking through the air, a woman in red flew through the air and landed in front of Elder Wang. The woman was beautiful. Her dress was slightly transparent, and her skin was faintly visible. She looked very sexy and enchanting. She also had a nice body fragrance on her. Who is she? What an unfamiliar face. Her aura is also very strong. She should be a battle sage. Xueqi and the other disciples looked at the woman in red in surprise. The woman in red glanced at Xueqi and the others, and there was a trace of disdain in her eyes. She was also extremely arrogant. Then she looked at Elder Wang and bowed. Greetings, Elder Wang. What are you doing in the martial arts treasury? Elder Wang was stunned and asked. He obviously knew this woman. Look at what you're saying. Can't disciples of the sacred grounds enter the martial arts treasury? The woman said with a smile, and there was a trace of innate charm in her eyes. She's a disciple of the sacred grounds. Xueqi and the others were stunned, and there was a trace of respect and envy on their faces. Elder Wang looked at the woman in red with a doting gaze, but it was not obvious. He smiled and said, Of course, you can go in by yourself. Okay. The woman in red nodded and walked towards the door with a proud smile. After the woman in red entered the martial arts treasury, Elder Wang looked at Xueqi and the others and said, Don't be jealous. As long as you are willing to work hard, you will enter the sacred grounds sooner or later. The few of them immediately clenched their fists, and there was determination in their eyes. Back to Qin Feiyang. At this moment, he had already reached the 10th floor. In other words, the soul-tampering art was only missing the last part. He was very excited. To an alchemist, increasing his mind power was more important than obtaining a divine art. He opened the stone door to the 10th floor. The contribution points in his identity token were finally depleted. Compared to the 9 floors below, the number of stone boxes on the 10th floor was more than half. There were only about 1,000 of them. The stone boxes were basically covered with a layer of dust. It was obvious that very few people had entered the 10th floor. Qin Feiyang walked to the center and took out a soul-tampering art jade slip. Because the 10 jade slips were all connected to each other, there was no need to take out the jade slip on the 1st floor. Time passed breath by breath. This time, it took a little longer. About 20 breaths passed. The jade slip flew toward a shelf in front and finally stopped above the 3rd stone box on the 2nd floor. Qin Feiyang quickly ran over, put away the jade slip, and was about to grab the stone box. Rumble! However, at this moment, the stone door to the 10th floor opened again. Qin Feiyang turned his head and looked suspiciously. He saw a woman in red walking in hurriedly. What a powerful aura! Qin Feiyang's pupils shrank. This woman's aura was actually comparable to Yan Wei's. One had to know. Yan Wei was now a 9-star battle saint, one step away from becoming a battle emperor. This also meant that this woman was also a 9-star battle saint. The woman in red naturally saw Qin Feiyang. She smiled charmingly at Qin Feiyang and walked straight toward Qin Feiyang. What's going on? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. Could it be that this woman was looking for him? But that was not the case. The woman in red walked to Qin Feiyang's side. Without saying a word, she glanced at the shelf in front of her and directly stretched out her slender hand to grab a stone box. Wait. Qin Feiyang was stunned and quickly said anxiously. Because the stone box that the woman in red grabbed was the 10th part of the soul refining technique. However, not only did the woman in red not let go of the stone box, but she also put it away. Then she turned to Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, You must be Ancestor Mu? I am. Qin Feiyang nodded. The woman in red raised her other hand and hooked Qin Feiyang's chin. She smiled charmingly and said, You don't look very good, but why are you so talented? Have I been flirted with? This was Qin Feiyang's first reaction. The woman's behavior was frivolous, her eyes were charming, her red lips were sexy, and her body was intoxicating. She was simply a stunner. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but feel a wave of evil fire rise in his heart, attacking his rationality. He shook his head forcefully and slapped the woman's wrist. When he came into contact with the woman's skin, his mind couldn't help but tremble. Her skin was so smooth and tender. He even grabbed the woman's wrist uncontrollably, unwilling to let go, as if he had been bewitched. Hee hee. Little brother, did you fall in love with big sister so quickly? The woman covered her mouth and laughed. Her beautiful body trembled, and she had an indescribable charm. Qin Feiyong couldn't help but be lost in thought. The woman leaned forward and blew a breath of hot air beside Qin Feiyong's ear, and said ambiguously, "If you want the jade scroll in this stone box, then come to Longfeng Pavilion to find me tonight." Finished. The woman gently broke free from Qin Feiyong's big hand, then grabbed another stone box, opened it in an instant, and disappeared without a trace. Looking at Qin Feiyong again. He stood motionless on the ground, as if he was still immersed in the woman's charm, his eyes infatuated. How could this be? About 10 breaths of time passed. He suddenly quivered and regained his senses. His face was filled with bewilderment. The woman in red was indeed very beautiful. But he had seen quite a few beautiful women before. Especially the mermaid princess, she was a peerless beauty, but even when facing the mermaid princess, he had never been so infatuated. But now, this woman in red had only teased him a little, and he couldn't help but be distracted. Wasn't this too strange? Crap, the jade scroll. Suddenly, Qin Feiyong's face changed. He grabbed a stone box from the shelf and immediately opened it. The next moment, he appeared in the square in front of the martial arts treasury. Senior apprentice Brother Mu. The few disciples who had mocked Qin Feiyong not long ago immediately swarmed over. Scram! Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows and shouted. The few of them shrank their necks and hurriedly retreated to the side. Qin Feiyong was not in the mood to pay attention to them at all. He swept his gaze across the square and saw that the woman in red was not there. Chapter 960. What are you looking for? Chu Xian walked up and looked at Qin Feiyong suspiciously. Elder Wang was also puzzled. Qin Feiyong retracted his gaze and looked at Chu Xian. Did you see a woman in red? Woman in red? Chu Xian was slightly stunned and asked, "Are you talking about the disciple from the sacred ground?" From the sacred ground? This time, it was Qin Feiyong who was stunned. After reacting, he said, "It should be her. Where is she now?" "She just opened the portal and left," Chu Xian said. Damn it! Qin Feiyong clenched his fists and his eyes were gloomy. Just a little bit more, just a little bit more. He didn't expect that someone would suddenly appear and snatch the last part. What's going on? Elder Wang stood up and looked at Qin Feiyong and asked. Qin Feiyong turned to look at Elder Wang and transmitted his voice. She snatched the last part of the soul refining art on the 10th floor. Elder Wang raised his eyebrows. Elder Wang, do you know who she is? Qin Feiyong asked secretly. This. Elder Wang was a little hesitant and his expression was unnatural. It's really strange. Qin Feiyong didn't notice Elder Wang's expression and muttered with his head lowered. What's strange? Elder Wang asked. As soon as she entered the 10th floor, she went straight to the stone box. Obviously, she already knew that the 10th part of the soul refining art was in the stone box. That's the problem. How did she know? Qin Feiyong raised his head and looked at Elder Wang with a questioning look in his eyes. I'm not sure either. I only know that she's a disciple of the sacred ground. Elder Wang shook his head, but his expression became more and more unnatural. Disciple of the sacred ground? Longfeng Pavilion. Qin Feiyong lowered his head and muttered to himself, his eyes flickering. At the same time, Chu Xian looked at him as if she had something to say. Seeing that Qin Feiyong had his head lowered and didn't move for a long time, she couldn't hold it in and transmitted her voice. Thank you. Qin Feiyong raised his head suspiciously and asked, Thank me for what? The stone box you picked just now contained a perfect battle art. Chu Xian smiled. Qin Feiyong was stunned. He had just casually picked a perfect battle art. Wasn't his luck a bit too good? Suddenly, he remembered that before he came out, he had also grabbed a stone box. He lowered his head and looked at the stone box in his hand. Could it also contain a perfect battle art? Next, he opened the stone box, took out the jade slip inside, and immersed his consciousness into it. In the end, he was disappointed. This was only a superior battle art. Perhaps other disciples would still take away a high-tier battle art, but to him, it was completely worthless. Qin Feiyang stepped forward and handed over the jade slip and the stone box to Elder Wang. Then he quietly asked, I wonder if you have mentioned to anyone that I was hunting in the White Tiger Mountain range? No. What happened? Elder Wang was doubtful. Nothing. Qin Feiyang shook his head. If it wasn't Chu Xian or Elder Wang, then who was it? Was it really a coincidence? Suddenly, Elder Wang said again, Oh right, I remember now. After you went to the White Tiger Mountain range, Wu Shan came out from the martial arts treasury and asked me about your whereabouts. I casually told him. So that's how it is. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. However, Elder Wang didn't do it on purpose. He couldn't blame him, and of course, he didn't dare to blame him. Then, he secretly thanked Elder Wang, took out the teleportation gate, and prepared to leave. Senior Brother Mu, wait. Seeing this, the disciples quickly surrounded him. What? You still want to humiliate yourself? Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. No. We're here waiting for you to come out. We want to apologize to you. We were wrong before. Senior Brother Mu, please be magnanimous and don't bother with us. The few of them lowered their heads. So you're afraid that I'll take revenge on you? Qin Feiyang came to a realization and a cold smile appeared on his face. The few of them trembled in fear. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. Don't worry, I'm not the kind of person who likes to be calculative. Thank you, Senior Brother Mu. Hearing this, the few of them were overjoyed and thanked him profusely. Qin Feiyang glanced at them and didn't say anything else. He didn't take them seriously at all. In fact, if they hadn't mentioned it again, he would have forgotten about it. Therefore, there was no such thing as revenge. Besides, it was purely a waste of time to take revenge on them. Taking back the last part of the soul refinement technique was the most important thing. See you again. Then, Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled at Chu Xian. He opened the teleportation gate in his hand and walked in without looking back. After Qin Feiyang left, Chu Xian and the few disciples bowed to Elder Wang and left one after another. After everyone left, Elder Wang's face was immediately filled with anger. He took out the image crystal. Soon, the illusory image of the red-clothed woman appeared. Elder Wang said angrily, Do you know what you're doing? What did I do? The woman in red looked at him suspiciously. Still pretending? Tell me, did you snatch the 10th part of the soul refinement technique? Elder Wang broke the silence. Yes, can't I? The woman in red nodded. She wasn't afraid of Elder Wang at all and had a cheeky smile on her face. Nonsense. I shouldn't have told you the location of the soul refinement technique, and that Ancestor Mu obtained the inheritance of the first Chief Pagoda Master. Elder Wang was so angry that he was fuming. The woman in red said, Why are you angry? I'm just a little curious about Ancestor Mu and wanted to play with him. Is that something to play with? Do you know that he's about to become the Chief Pagoda Master's personal disciple? Elder Wang said angrily. Of course I know about such a big matter. Don't worry, when I'm done playing, I promise to return the 10th part of the soul refinement technique to him. The woman in red giggled. No, send it to him immediately. This is an order. Elder Wang said with a straight face. No way. If you have the ability, come and snatch it. The woman in red made a face at Elder Wang and directly turned off the image crystal. Elder Wang's face was pitch black and his veins were bulging. In the end, he helplessly put away the image crystal and sighed helplessly. This damn girl, I've really spoiled her. 1 Tower. Alchemy Room Number 10. Qin Feiyang sat cross-legged in an independent cultivation room, calmly comprehending the 2nd to 9th parts that he had just obtained. But after a while, he opened his eyes with an annoyed expression. Without the 10th part, it was impossible to master this soul refinement technique. He put away the jade scroll, took out the image crystal, and sent a message to young Master Hao. Bas. A while later, young Master Hao's shadow appeared. Seeing young Master Hao sitting in a tea room, Qin Feiyang asked in surprise, You're still at the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion? It's all because I'm waiting for you. It's been half a day, aren't you done yet? Young Master Hao said unhappily. I didn't say that I had to go to the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. Qin Feiyang laughed bitterly, then nodded and said, Now that I'm done, give me your coordinates. After young Master Hao gave Qin Feiyong his coordinates, Qin Feiyong opened the teleportation gate and directly descended in front of young Master Hao. In the tea room, there was a faint fragrance of tea. Young Master Hao was cleaning the tea set for Qin Feiyong, and laughed. "Sit anywhere." Qin Feiyong glanced at the pavilion. There was only young Master Hao in the entire pavilion, so he sat beside him. "I just received news that you brought back 55 holy beasts. Is that true?" Young Master Hao asked as he poured tea. Qin Feiyong was startled. He shook his head and laughed. "You're quite well informed." "Nonsense. Don't you know who I am?" Young Master Hao rolled his eyes, pushed the teacup in front of Qin Feiyong, and stretched out his hand. "Try it." Qin Feiyong picked up the teacup and took a sip. A trace of surprise crept into his eyes. He had been to the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion several times, so he was quite familiar with the tea leaves of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. In the past, the tea leaves were fragrant and sweet, but today's tea leaves had a bitter taste. "The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion sent someone to deliver this to me. Although the taste is bitter, it is said that it can strengthen one's foundation and prolong one's life." Young Master Hao said with a happy and satisfied smile on his face. "Is that so?" Qin Feiyong was enlightened. He teased. "The son of the chief tower master is actually so satisfied with a pot of tea. Aren't you afraid of being laughed at? Mouths are on other people's faces. If they want to talk, can you stop them? So, as long as you're satisfied, it's fine," young Master Hao said. Qin Feiyong nodded. "That's true, but some things can't be forced." "I understand. It's because I understand this that I haven't forced her to do anything. After all, with my identity, if I really want her to do something, she won't dare to not do it." Young Master Hao smiled. Qin Feiyong frowned. "I really don't understand. There are countless beautiful women in the Forgotten Continent. Why are you so infatuated with her? How should I put it? Anyway, it's a very strange feeling. A cultivation maniac like you won't understand." After young Master Hao finished speaking, a trace of disdain crept into his eyes. Qin Feiyong smiled helplessly, then his face turned serious. "Let's talk business. I want to ask you about a person." "Who?" Young Master Hao picked up the teacup, took a sip and asked. Qin Feiyong waved his hand. The image of the red-clothed woman condensed in the void. Looking at the red-clothed woman, young Master Hao immediately spat out the tea in his mouth. "Isn't this reaction too big?" Qin Feiyong's face twitched. He asked, "Who is she?" "Wait." After young Master Hao came back to his senses, he hurriedly put down the teacup, looked at Qin Feiyong strangely and asked, "Why are you asking about her?" Qin Feiyong said in annoyance, "Previously in the martial arts treasury, she stole the 10th part of the soul refining technique." "Ah!" Young Master Hao was stunned, then he laughed. "What are you laughing at?" Qin Feiyong frowned. "Congratulations. You've hit the jackpot." Young Master Hao laughed more and more happily. "Jackpot? I think it's bad luck." "Stop laughing. Hurry up and explain." Qin Feiyong waved his hand impatiently. Okay, I won't laugh. Let me tell you this, anyone who is targeted by her will only end up with a mental breakdown." Young Master Hao said. "Is it that scary?" Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows. "It's even scarier than I said. Moreover, in the entire Forgotten Continent, apart from me, only she dares to mess around in the martial arts treasury." Young Master Hao said. This, Qin Feiyong's face was stunned. This woman had such a great background? Suddenly, Qin Feiyong looked at young Master Hao and said, "She can't be your father's illegitimate daughter, right?" Scram. Young Master Hao's face darkened and said, "This old man is not the kind of person you are talking about. Stop talking nonsense. Then hurry up and tell me who she is." Qin Feiyong was somewhat powerless. After talking for a long time, he did not mention a single word about the red-clothed woman's identity. "All right. Let me tell you, her name is Wang Yu, Elder Wang's granddaughter. And her parents, one is the Tower Master of the Sacred Ground, the other is the Peak Master of the Sacred Ground. The position in the main tower is only second to my father, and their strength is also very terrifying." Young Master Hao said. "Elder Wang's granddaughter?" Chapter 961. He didn't expect that this woman was related to Elder Wang. Qin Feiyong looked at young Master Hao and asked, "You have a good relationship with her too?" "Sort of." Young Master Hao nodded. Qin Feiyong said, then can you help me? No. Young Master Hao waved his hand decisively. I haven't even told you what I want you to help me with, and you refuse like this? Qin Feiyong frowned. Don't you just want me to help you get back the 10th part of the soul refining technique? If it were anyone else, I would definitely agree to help you without hesitation, but Wang Yu I really can't afford to offend her. I can only say that you're on your own. Young Master Hao shook his head with a trace of schadenfreude on his face. Qin Feiyong's head was throbbing. Even young Master Hao kept a respectful distance from her. How difficult was this woman? Suddenly, Qin Feiyong seemed to have thought of something and said, one more thing, is there a ban on refining blood demon pills in the Central Divine Kingdom? Young Master Hao was shocked and said, you're not refining blood demon pills, are you? Qin Feiyong said, tell me first. Blood demon pills are absolutely forbidden. This is the order of the first pagoda master. Young Master Hao said solemnly. Qin Feiyong said, then what will the consequences be if someone refines it? Kill without mercy. Young Master Hao said. Qin Feiyong laughed. There was a written ban, but Wu Shan still refined the blood demon pill. This was simply playing with fire and burning himself. Brother, since we're brothers, listen to me. Don't go and refine the blood demon pill. Otherwise, even I won't be able to protect you. Young Master Hao said in a deep voice. Don't worry, I will never touch this kind of pill. Qin Feiyong laughed. That's good. Young Master Hao breathed a sigh of relief. After being together for so long, he believed in Qin Feiyong's character. Qin Feiyong said again, but there's something I think I should tell you. What is it? Young Master Hao asked with a smile. Qin Feiyong said, Wu Shan is refining the blood demon pill. Young Master Hao was stunned. He shook his head and laughed. Brother, don't joke around. Wu Shan is a member of the Qilin tribe. He doesn't dare to violate this taboo. Do I look like I'm joking? I won't hide it from you. Before in the White Tiger Mountain Range, he ran over to sneak attack me. In the end, he was killed by me, and in his cosmos bag, I found a blood demon pill. Qin Feiyong said. Really? Young Master Hao raised his eyebrows. Qin Feiyong nodded. Young Master Hao said, show me his Chenkuan bag. Qin Feiyong said, I crushed the Chenkuan bag and the blood demon pill in a fit of anger. What a fool. These are all evidence. Why are you crushing them? There is no evidence now. Even if you are telling the truth, who would believe you? Young Master Hao glared at Qin Feiyong angrily. Qin Feiyong smiled bitterly. He also hated the blood demon pill. So, he crushed the blood demon pill and the Chenkuan bag out of instinct. Young Master Hao pondered for a while and asked, does the Qilin tribe know that Wu Shan refined the blood demon pill? I don't know about that. Qin Feiyong shook his head. Young Master Hao said, this is not a trivial matter. We must investigate it thoroughly. Try to find a way to inquire about it, especially those who are close to Wu Shan. Okay. Qin Feiyong nodded. Dong. At this moment, there was a knock on the door. Young Master Hao looked at the door and said, come in. The door was pushed open. A waiter walked in with a jar of Dragon Phoenix wine in his hand. I didn't ask for wine. Young Master Hao looked at the waiter suspiciously. Young Master Hao, the thing is, our young lady knew that young Master Mu was coming, so she asked me to bring you a jar of Dragon Phoenix wine. The waiter smiled. Young Master Hao's expression froze as he turned to look at Qin Feiyong suspiciously. Qin Feiyong also had a puzzled look on his face. One had to know. He had opened the teleportation gate and directly came to find young Master Hao. How did the young lady of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion know? Please enjoy it slowly. After the waiter placed the wine jar on the tea table, he bowed and left. After the waiter left, young Master Hao suddenly stood up and glared at Qin Feiyong, saying, tell me honestly, when did you hook up with her? What? Qin Feiyong was dumbfounded. Still playing dumb? When I came to the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, she gave me a pot of tea, but when you came, she actually gave you a jar of Dragon Phoenix wine. Doesn't this mean that your position in her heart is higher than mine? Young Master Hao said angrily. Qin Feiyong was stunned, so this guy was jealous. However, he couldn't figure out what this lady meant. You bastard, don't you know that you can't bully your friend's wife? I treated you as a brother in vain. Young Master Hao was about to lose his mind. Seeing that he was about to go berserk, Qin Feiyong hurriedly stood up and said, Calm down, calm down. I can't calm down. Young Master Hao shouted. Qin Feiyong rubbed his forehead and said helplessly, I swear I have nothing to do with her. Then how do you explain this? Young Master Hao pointed to the wine jar on the tea table. I'm wondering the same thing. Qin Feiyong frowned. Seeing that Qin Feiyong didn't seem to be lying, he asked, You really have nothing to do with her? I really don't. I saw her once during the auction of the Dragon Phoenix wine. You know it too, what could have happened? Qin Feiyong looked at him helplessly. Bam! Suddenly, another knock on the door rang out. Who is it? Young Master Hao raised his eyebrows. The door opened and a person stood outside. It was the waiter who had left earlier. I'm sorry, I forgot to tell the two young masters that the young lady sent this jar of Dragon Phoenix wine to congratulate young Master Mu in advance for becoming the direct disciple of the Chief Pagoda Master. The waiter said. Is that so? Young Master Hao was stunned. Yes. The waiter nodded, then closed the door and left. Qin Feiyong sat down on the chair, glanced at young Master Hao, and was about to speak. Don't say any more. I was wrong about you. I apologize to you. Young Master Hao looked at Qin Feiyong with an awkward expression. Qin Feiyong shook his head and laughed, saying, I think you're really obsessed. Heh. Young Master Hao scratched his head and laughed dryly. In order to ease the atmosphere, he said, How are you going to snatch back the 10th part of the soul refining technique from Wang Yu? Qin Feiyong said, She asked me to come to the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion to look for her tonight. Young Master Hao's face twitched, and he said in a low voice, Then you have to be careful. She has mastered a type of charm technique that can make any man unknowingly be bewitched by her, and even fall in love with her and die for her. Charm technique? Qin Feiyong was stunned, and he was wondering why he would be obsessed in the martial arts treasury, so it was because of this. But you don't have to worry, she knows that you are about to become my father's disciple, so she won't really hurt you. She probably just wants to tease you. Young Master Hao laughed. Tease me? Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows, and then the corner of his mouth pursed into a teasing smile. Then let's see who will be playing who in the end. In the evening, young Master Hao left. Qin Feiyong sat alone for a while, then got up and walked out of the pavilion, standing at the side of the corridor, scanning the hall below. Ancestor Mu. What is he doing there? He's motionless. Is he waiting for someone? When the guests of the restaurant saw Qin Feiyong, their faces were full of suspicion, and at the same time, their eyes were filled with respect and fear. Time passed breath by breath. Finally, an enchanting figure entered the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. It was Wang Yu. She was wearing a light pink dress that was 3 parts transparent, and her 2 long legs were faintly discernible. Her long black hair was casually draped over her shoulders. Her expression was a little lazy, but she looked extremely charming. Wow! So beautiful! All the men in the hall were stunned in an instant. Even those women were a little mesmerized when they saw Wang Yu. Looking at everyone's reaction, Qin Feiyong's fear of Wang Yu increased a little. In fact, Wang Yu was not that kind of devastatingly beautiful woman, and the reason why these people were so mesmerized was entirely because of her charm. Wang Yu, who entered the restaurant, glanced at the expressions of those men with a trace of disdain in her eyes. Subsequently, she raised her head and looked up, just in time to see Qin Feiyong standing at the side of the corridor, and immediately beamed with joy. So it's Miss Yu. We are honored by your presence. I hope you can forgive me for not going out to meet you. At this time, the steward of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, Pang Su, walked out from the back hall. When he saw Wang Yu, it was as if he had seen his ancestor, and he immediately went up to greet her. Steward Pang, long time no see. Wang Yu retracted her gaze and looked at Pang Su with a smile. That's right, that's right. Pang Su nodded repeatedly, but did not dare to look into Wang Yu's eyes. Her eyes were like a pool of spring water, bewitching all living beings and causing them to sink into oblivion. Then it's been so long since we last met. Did you miss me? Wang Yu walked towards Pang Su with a smile. Pang Su retreated in a panic while thinking about how to answer this question. Because he knew Wang Yu's identity. He could not afford to offend her. Boring. Wang Yue pursed her lips and turned to walk upstairs. Phew! What a tormenting little ancestor. Only then did Pang Su let out a long breath. His entire body was already drenched in cold sweat. Then, he hurriedly looked at a waiter beside him and shouted, "Why aren't you arranging a private room for Miss Yu? Yes, yes, yes." The waiter was also mesmerized. Hearing Pang Su's words, he hurriedly chased after Wang Yue. There's no need. Wang Yue pursed her red lips and looked up at Qin Feiyong. Silly brother, why are you still standing there? Come and welcome your sister. Everyone was stunned and looked at Qin Feiyong. The waiter also glanced at Qin Feiyong, then looked at Pang Su helplessly. Pang Su also looked at Qin Feiyong meaningfully, then shook his head at the waiter, indicating that he should not ask for trouble. Then, he looked at Qin Feiyong. He stood by the corridor and looked down at Wang Yue without any change in expression. Do you still want the 10th part of the soul refinement technique? Wang Yue sent a voice transmission with a hint of threat. Qin Feiyong raised his brows and said indifferently, "Can't you just fly up from this distance?" After saying that, he ignored Wang Yue and turned to enter the private room. What a temper! Not only was Wang Yue not angry, the smile on her face became even brighter. Chapter 962. Whoosh! Wang Yue flashed and landed in front of Qin Feiyong's private room. Then she walked in slowly and closed the door. Steward Pang, who is she? Someone in the hall immediately asked. Pang Su said in a deep voice, "She's someone you can't afford to offend." Can't afford to offend? Someone was surprised. Pang Su said, "Have you heard of the charm technique?" Charm technique. I know, she's Wang Yue. Yes, it's her. It's said that she has been in seclusion for more than 100 years. Many people have only heard of her but have never seen her. The hall immediately became lively and everyone was talking about it. However, there was dead silence in the private room. Qin Feiyong sat in front of the tea table and didn't entertain Wang Yue. He just tasted the food by himself. Wang Yue sat opposite Qin Feiyong and looked at him curiously in silence. I can't figure it out. Suddenly, Qin Feiyong shook his head. What can't you figure out? Wang Yue was stunned and asked. Qin Feiyong looked up at her and said lightly, Elder Wang is such a good person. How can he have a granddaughter like you? Wang Yue's red lips curled up. She actually got up and sat directly on Qin Feiyong's thighs. Her two lotus-like arms hooked around Qin Feiyong's shoulders. She smiled and said, Then tell me, how am I? Qin Feiyong didn't expect Wang Yue's behavior to be so bold. Her charming body fragrance rushed to his face. The majestic twin peaks were right in front of him. Qin Feiyong only felt that the blood in his body was spurting and his mouth was dry. At this time, Wang Yue leaned forward and clung to Qin Feiyong's chest. Her red lips moved to Qin Feiyong's ear and she whispered, Tell me quickly. This posture was like a bunch of couples in love, leaning on each other and being as intimate as possible. If it were other men, they would have lost control long ago. Qin Feiyong was also feeling very uncomfortable at this moment. He was desperately suppressing the evil fire in his heart. It was not because his willpower was not good enough, but because Wang Yue's charm technique was too terrifying. It could not penetrate his body at all. Don't you want to be intimate with Big Sister now? Don't be shy. If you want to, just say it. The bedroom is just next door. I can satisfy you at any time. Wang Yue got up from Qin Feiyong's body. As she spoke, she stretched out her jade-like hands and gently rubbed Qin Feiyong's chest. Qin Feiyong was about to collapse. This woman was simply a little vixen who wanted people's lives. He finally understood why young Master Hao was so afraid of Wang Yue. In the face of such teasing, no matter how strong a person's willpower was, they would still collapse. Be rational, you must be rational. Qin Feiyong fiercely bit his tongue. The sharp pain finally woke him up. He immediately pushed Wang Yue away and said with a frown, As a woman, you should know how to respect yourself. However, before he finished speaking, Wang Yue sat on his lap again. And her movements were even more frivolous than before. She directly grabbed Qin Feiyong's hand and pressed it against her chest. Qin Feiyong was so shocked that he broke out in a cold sweat. He said angrily, What on earth do you want to do? Wang Yue said with a charming smile, Silly brother, can't you see it? I want to be your woman. I already have a sweetheart. Qin Feiyong's face darkened. If he believed this kind of nonsense, then he would really be a fool. You have a sweetheart? Wang Yuer's face froze, and then she said with a smile, Is she prettier than me? Of course she is. Qin Feiyong said. Are you sure there is a woman more beautiful than me in this world? As Wang Yuer spoke, her temperament suddenly changed. Her whole body was full of charm. In the past, she was an irresistible calamity, but now, she was a beauty that could drive anyone crazy. Even the air in the private room had undergone a subtle change, and it was filled with a kind of uncontrollable emotion. She had activated the real charming skill. And in an instant, Qin Feiyong's eyes became dull. Then, his eyes were bloodshot and filled with a sense of possessiveness. Then he raised his hands uncontrollably and held Wang Yuer's slender waist tightly. He even raised his head and kissed Wang Yuer's red lips. Seeing this, Wang Yuer's face changed slightly. Obviously, she was frightened by Qin Feiyong's move. But soon, she calmed down again, reached out to seal Qin Feiyong's mouth, and chuckled. Answer me first, who is more beautiful? You are more beautiful, Qin Feiyong said without hesitation. At this moment, under the urging of the charming skill, his reason had been drowned by the evil fire in his heart. After that, he suddenly stood up, held Wang Yuer in his arms, and walked toward the bedroom. What are you doing? Let me go. Wang Yuer's face turned pale and she quickly struggled. In fact, she just wanted to tease Qin Feiyong. She didn't really want to do anything. Besides, although she had practiced the charming skill and had teased many people, she had always kept her chastity. And when she had teased others before, she had never activated the charming skill, so she had never faced such a situation. And this was the first time. So when she saw Qin Feiyong was serious, she couldn't help but panic. But no matter how hard she struggled, Qin Feiyong didn't let go, as if he had been possessed. After entering the bedroom, Qin Feiyong directly laid her on the bed, and then violently tore Wang Yuer's clothes apart. Her jade-like delicate body was immediately exposed to Qin Feiyong's sight. Ancestor Mu, I have already dispersed the charming skill. Wake up. Wang Yuer completely panicked and was extremely anxious. However, Qin Feiyong still turned a deaf ear to her. He suddenly pounced on Wang Yuer's body and instantly blocked Wang Yuer's red lips. This? Wang Yuer was stunned and stared blankly at Qin Feiyong, who had fallen into madness. She was kissed by force? Bastard, get out of here. Immediately afterward, she roared and tears came out. Originally, with her cultivation, she could easily shake off Qin Feiyong. But she, who had never experienced anything, was at a loss and completely forgot the gap between her and Qin Feiyong. Especially this kiss, she was completely at a loss. Qin Feiyong didn't show any signs of waking up. He firmly pressed her hand and crazily demanded. Ah! But suddenly, there was a heart-wrenching pain in his heart, which made him unable to help but let out a beast-like howl. And there was a burst of strong light in his heart. This was the concentric knot. As long as he had intimate contact with other women, the concentric knot would act up. Finally, the exuberant evil fire in his heart disappeared, and the lost reason also recovered. What am I doing? Looking at the tearful Wang Yuer under him, he couldn't wait to slap himself in the face. But in addition to being annoyed, he also felt a little happy. This woman should be taught a lesson. Otherwise, she would think that all the men in the world could be played by her. Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed, and he reached out to stroke Wang Yuer's black hair lovingly. He smiled and said, Don't be afraid, I will be very gentle. After that, he lowered his head and kissed Wang Yuer's red lips. Bang! But at this moment, the door of the private room was kicked open, and a group of waiters rushed in aggressively. Qin Feiyong and Wang Yuer suddenly froze. Looking at the messy bed and the ambiguous scene, the group of waiters also froze. They heard Qin Feiyong's miserable howl and thought that something bad had happened, so they ran in. However, they never expected that it would be such a situation. Young Master Mu, miss you are you? Pang Su also ran into the private room in a hurry, his face full of worry. But when he saw Qin Feiyong and Wang Yuer sticking together intimately, he was dumbfounded on the spot. There was dead silence in the private room. Get out. Suddenly, Qin Feiyong and Wang Yuer shouted at the same time. I'm sorry to disturb you. Please continue. What are you looking at? Get out of here. Pang Su shivered and hurriedly apologized to the two of them. Then he roared at the waiters, turned around, and ran out in a hurry. Bang! The door was also closed. The room fell silent again. The two of them maintained their previous posture, staring at each other with their big eyes. All of a sudden, Qin Feiyong gave an evil smile and said, Well, looking at you from such a close distance, you are really quite charming. Wang Yuer couldn't help blushing. Qin Feiyong asked again with a smile, Tell me honestly, do you really want to be my woman? Wang Yuer shook her head hard. Don't lie. If you don't want to be my woman, why don't you blow me away? After all, with your strength, it's too easy to blow me away. Why don't we do it for real? It's also my first time. You won't lose out. Qin Feiyong smiled evilly. Yes, my cultivation is stronger than his. Why should I be afraid of him? After being reminded by Qin Feiyong, Wang Yuer finally remembered the gap between their cultivation. At this moment, a cold light flashed in her eyes and she kicked Qin Feiyong's lower abdomen. Hee. Qin Feiyong grinned. He had expected that Wang Yuer would do this. He got up at lightning speed and retreated quickly. Bastard! I'm going to kill you! Wang Yuer immediately got up and pounced on Qin Feiyong with threatening gestures. But for this, Qin Feiyong was not nervous at all. Instead, he crossed his arms and looked at Wang Yuer's body evilly, saying, It's exposed. Wang Yuer's delicate body stiffened. She hurriedly grabbed the blanket and wrapped it around her body. Not daring to move anymore, she stared fiercely at Qin Feiyong. And gradually, her eyes became misty as she squatted on the bed and curled up. Her face was filled with grievance. Seeing this, Qin Feiyong's heart softened. This woman looked frivolous, but she was actually quite weak and innocent. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been so flustered when he forcefully kissed her. He walked forward with a trace of apology on his face and said, I'm sorry, it was my fault just now. I apologize to you, don't play like this in the future. You'll bring trouble to yourself. What's the use of apologizing? I'm afraid the people of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion already know about this. How do you want me to face others in the future? Wang Yuer glared at him. How can you blame me for this? If you didn't tease me, would all of this have happened? Qin Feiyong said. Wang Yuer had nothing to say, and could only glare at Qin Feiyong angrily. Sigh. Qin Feiyong sighed softly and said, All right, I'll go out and explain it to them right away. With that, he got off the bed, tidied up his clothes and walked towards the door. Stop. Wang Yuer hurriedly said. What's wrong now? Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows. So many people saw it. If you go out and explain now, wouldn't it be more conspicuous? Wang Yuer said. Qin Feiyong frowned. What Wang Yuer said did make sense. In this situation, explaining was equivalent to covering it up. It was useless. He asked, Then what do you think we should do? You go out first. I want to put on my clothes. Wang Yuer stared at him warily. I've already seen it all. What's there to hide? Qin Feiyong shook his head and turned to enter the tea room. He sat in front of the tea table and made tea with his back facing Wang Yuer. Chapter 963. Pervert, I'll teach you a lesson sooner or later. She glared at Qin Feiyong fiercely, then found the Xueqi bag on the messy bed and ran into the bathroom as if running for her life. A moment later, she finally came out of the bathroom. Hearing the footsteps, Qin Feiyong turned his head and looked at her. There was a flash of surprise in his eyes. At this moment, Wang Yuer was wearing a snow-white floor-length dress, which was spotless. Her black hair was like a waterfall, exuding a faint fragrance. Her previous charm had also vanished without a trace. Instead, she looked even more pure, making her seem even more charming. Pervert, bastard. Seeing Qin Feiyong staring at her, Wang Yuer's face suddenly showed a trace of disdain. Qin Feiyong was quite speechless. Who began to tease him as soon as she came in? Now she called him a pervert. It was natural for women to be unreasonable in front of men, but there should be a limit, right? Wang Yuer sat opposite Qin Feiyong and said, Tell me, how are you going to compensate me for my loss? Qin Feiyong was stunned and then said, "Are you kidding me? It seems that I'm the one who suffered a loss today, right?" "You suffered a loss?" Wang Yuer suddenly stood up, and her eyes were full of anger. Qin Feiyong waved his hand and said indifferently, "Don't look like you're going to eat me alive. This matter was caused by you in the first place. If we're talking about compensation, it should be you compensating me." "Bastard, are you still a man?" Wang Yuer said angrily. He took advantage of her and actually wanted her to compensate. That was too much. "Whether I'm a man or not, you'll know after you try," Qin Feiyong said with an evil smile. Wang Yuer was so angry that her body trembled and she gritted her teeth. "Okay, it's already happened. What's the use of saying this? The most important thing is to think about how to explain it to everyone," Qin Feiyong said. She heard about it. Wang Yuer slumped in the chair and sighed. "It's hard to explain. So we'll just let everyone misunderstand?" Qin Feiyong asked. "What else do you think we should do?" Wang Yuer glared at him angrily. "There's no other way." "But I'm quite worried." Qin Feiyong frowned. "You're a man. What are you worried about?" Wang Yuer sneered. "I'm worried about your grandfather and your parents. If they find out about this, regardless of whether it's right or wrong, they'll definitely come after me." Qin Feiyong rubbed his forehead. This woman was really a troublemaker. "You deserve it." Wang Yuer snorted coldly. "Unreasonable indeed." Qin Feiyong shook his head and said, "I'm not in the mood to bicker with you right now. Tell me, what do I have to do for you to give me the 10th part of the soul refining technique?" "You want the soul refining technique now? Do you think it's possible? I'm telling you this isn't over." Wang Yuer snorted, got up, opened the portal, and left without looking back. Headache. Looking at Wang Yuer's back, Qin Feiyong felt extremely irritated. Why was he so unlucky to meet such a difficult woman? Dong. Soon. There was a knock on the door. "Come in." Qin Feiyong sorted out his emotions and looked at the door. As soon as he finished speaking, Pang Su pushed the door open and entered. He looked at Qin Feiyong and said with a smile, "Mr. Mu, Miss wants to see you." Qin Feiyong was stunned. Didn't this lady never see anyone? Why did she suddenly want to see him in person? Qin Feiyong asked, "Did your lady say anything else?" "No." Pang Su shook his head. Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed. He got up and walked to Pang Su, saying with a faint smile, "Steward Pang, please lead the way." "My pleasure." Pang Su chuckled, turned around, and walked along the corridor to the top floor. At the same time, seeing Qin Feiyong walk out of the elegant room, the people in the hall also had a strange look in their eyes. "Mr. Mu, you're really good." Suddenly, Pang Su said with a smile, with an inexplicable ambiguous tone. "What do you mean?" Qin Feiyong was stunned and asked suspiciously. "Others might not be familiar with Miss Yu, but I know her very well. Not only is she beautiful, her talent is also good, and her family background is unparalleled. In the past, who knows how many young elites pursued her, but she never looked at them in the eye." Pang Su said with a smile. Qin Feiyong frowned. "So you're saying that I should feel honored?" "Shouldn't you?" Pang Su asked. Qin Feiyong smiled helplessly and did not reply, because he really did not know how to answer. Pang Su did not say anything else. Not long later, the two of them arrived at the door of the young lady of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. Pang Su pushed open the door and retreated to the side, smiling. "Young master, please enter." Qin Feiyong glanced at the room and walked in. Pang Su closed the door as well. The layout of the room was still the same as before. There weren't many changes. The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion was still sitting behind the curtain. It was hazy, making it hard to see her clearly. "We meet again. Please take a seat." The woman's voice came from behind the curtain. It was as clear and pleasant as an oriole leaving the valley. "It's better not to meet like this." Qin Feiyong shook his head. There was only one chair in the room. Qin Feiyong looked at the chair, raised his head to look at the blurry figure, and said, "There's no need to sit. If you have something to say, just say it." Young master's personality hasn't changed at all. He's straightforward. "All right, I'll be direct. I saw everything between you and Wang Yu. I hope that no matter what conditions Wang Su puts forward to you in the future, You will agree. The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion said. You saw it? Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows. Yes. As long as it's in the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, nothing can be hidden from me. You can think that every pavilion is under my surveillance. The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion said. Qin Feiyong's heart trembled. No wonder this woman knew that he had come to the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion immediately. Then, he said in a deep voice, then last time young Master Hao and I set up a trap to kill Guofeng. I know that too. But don't worry. I'm a businessman. I won't meddle in other people's business. The woman said. Qin Feiyong believed in this point. Because if this woman really wanted to say something, she would have said it long ago. She wouldn't have waited until now. Who is Wang Su? Qin Feiyong asked. The woman said, Wang Yuer's grandfather. Qin Feiyong frowned. How do you know that he will raise conditions with me? It's very simple. Wang Yuer is his only granddaughter, and he loves her more than anyone else. As for the matter between you and Wang Yuer, if there is no reasonable explanation, then Wang Yuer's reputation will be damaged. Wang Su will not let this happen. He will definitely come forward to settle it. The woman said. Qin Feiyong's pupils constricted and asked, How? I don't know. In short, no matter what he says, you have to agree. Even if he asks you to marry Wang Yuer, you can't refuse. The woman said. Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows and said, Why should I listen to you? Because I won't harm you. The woman was silent for a moment and said, You may know a person for a long time, but not his heart. Besides, I know nothing about you. How do I know that you won't harm me? Qin Feiyong sneered. The woman fell silent again. After a long time she said, In this central divine kingdom, you can only trust me, Qin Feiyong. Boom. Qin Feiyong was like a bolt from the blue, his mind rumbling. This woman actually knew his identity? Swish. Suddenly, he took a step forward and lifted the curtain, wanting to see who this woman was. But before he could lift it, an invisible force pounced on him, knocking him back. So strong. Qin Feiyong's gaze trembled. Although this woman did not release her aura, but from the invisible force, he could instantly determine that this person's cultivation was definitely not lower than the War King. Who exactly are you? Qin Feiyong's face was as gloomy as water. The woman said, Knowing too much might not be a good thing for you. Let's go. Qin Feiyong clenched his fists, making a cracking sound. This feeling of being manipulated by others made him extremely displeased. However, in the end, his rationality prevailed over his impulse. He looked deeply at the woman's figure, opened the teleportation door, and directly returned to the alchemy room. He stood there deep in thought. In the entire Forgotten Continent, the only people who knew his identity were the Mu family and the mysterious lady. And in his opinion, both of them were possible, so it was hard to judge. Suddenly, he thought of the old man who helped him in the land of inheritance. Could this person be related to the young lady of the Dragon Phoenix house? He couldn't figure it out. Qin Feiyong rubbed his forehead, then opened the stone door of the alchemy room and walked towards the number 1 alchemy room. Dong. Walking to the door, he lightly knocked on the stone door. Soon, the stone door slowly opened. Pei Yi was sitting in the lounge, with an exquisite coffee table in front of him. A teapot was steaming, and the fragrance of tea filled the air. Mo Feng was also there. At the same time, upon sight of Qin Feiyong, Pei Yi and Mo Feng were slightly stunned. Pei Yi then smiled and said, What brings you here today? What brings you here? Qin Feiyong chuckled, walked into the alchemy room, closed the stone door behind him, and entered the lounge. Sit anywhere. Pei Yi pointed to the chair beside him. After Qin Feiyong sat down, Mo Feng immediately washed a teacup and placed it in front of Qin Feiyong. Then she poured the tea and smiled. Senior brother Pei and I were talking about you. What about me? Qin Feiyong looked at the two of them suspiciously. We were talking about how capable you are. Not only did you break through to the Battle Saint realm so quickly, you even subdued that demoness. Mo Feng shook her head and smiled. Demoness? Qin Feiyong was stunned. Don't you know? In our eyes, Wang Yuer is a demoness. No, to be exact, she's even scarier than a demoness. Can you tell us, How exactly did you subdue her? After putting down the teapot, Mo Feng looked at Qin Feiyang with a face full of curiosity. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. He didn't expect that the news would spread to the two of them so quickly. It was really like the old saying, good things don't go out, but bad things do. Qin Feiyang said, if I say that this is a misunderstanding, would you believe me? Pei Yi and Mo Feng looked at each other and couldn't help but shake their heads and smile. Obviously, they didn't believe him. However, the two of them were tactful and didn't dwell on this issue. Most importantly, the current Qin Feiyang was no longer someone they could control. Pei Yi picked up the teacup, took a sip, and said with a smile, I know you don't visit me for no reason. Tell me, what do you want from me? I want to know who has the best relationship with Mount Wu in the main pagoda? Qin Feiyang said. Pei Yi was surprised and said, why are you suddenly asking about Mount Wu? Yes. Now that you've broken through to the Battle Saint realm, you can enter the sacred ground at any time. The position of the king of the 10 Pill Pagodas is meaningless to you. Besides, aren't you not interested in the position of king? Chapter 964. Indeed, I'm not interested in the throne. However, I've encountered some trouble recently and need to investigate it. Qin Feiyang said vaguely. Trouble? Pei Yi was stunned. Do you need help? That's not necessary. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. Pei Yi nodded and looked at Mo Feng. Tell him about it. Mo Feng pondered for a moment and looked at Qin Feiyang. There are many people in the main pagoda who are close to Wu Shan, but there's only one who is especially close to him. You've met him before, Wu Yang. Wu Yang, Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment and said, are you talking about the person who asked me to go to the second pagoda? Yes, that's him. Mo Feng nodded. What a coincidence. All right, I'll go and meet him now. Qin Feiyang smiled playfully, stood up, and cupped his fists. He then turned and left the first alchemy room. Senior Brother Pei, this person is extraordinarily terrifying. After Mo Feng closed the stone door, he looked at Pei Yi and said with deep fear in his eyes. Yes. In just over a year, he broke through from an 8-star battle grandmaster to a 1-star battle saint. This speed is unprecedented. Pei Yi sighed. I remember when he first entered the main pagoda, I looked down on him and even said that you would always be his backer. Now that I think about it, why was I so childish back then? Mo Feng shook his head and laughed at himself. There are some people in this world that you can't look at with ordinary eyes. And this ancestor Mu is such a person. Pei Yi said. Mo Feng nodded. The second pagoda. Qin Feiyang didn't try to hide anything as he walked in openly. And everyone who met him had a trace of fear in their eyes. Which alchemy room is Wu Yang in? The layout of the second pagoda was the same as that of the first pagoda. Qin Feiyang came to the bottom of the patio and asked a few disciples not far away. The second alchemy room. One of them pointed up and said timidly. Am I that scary? Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows, leaped into the air, and landed on the top floor like a bolt of lightning. The disciples below also began to discuss in low voices. The topics of discussion were none other than Qin Feiyang's cultivation, the fact that he had become the chief pagoda master's disciple, and the relationship between Qin Feiyang and Wang Yuer. Qin Feiyang naturally caught it, but he turned a deaf ear to it and walked straight to the door of alchemy room number 2. Their relationship is indeed extraordinary. Looking at the number on the stone door, Qin Feiyang's eyes lit up. He wasn't sure about Wu Yang's talent in alchemy, but he knew that his strength wasn't that great. Therefore, the reason why Wu Yang was able to occupy alchemy room number 2 was mostly because of Wu Shan. Dong. Qin Feiyang knocked hard on the stone door. Time slowly passed. More and more people gathered below. All kinds of discussions were intertwined, making the place extremely noisy. Rumble. Finally, the stone door opened. A young man in white stood behind the door. It was Wu Yang. What are you doing here? Because of the previous incident, Wu Yang had always been very prejudiced against Qin Feiyang. Therefore, when he saw that it was Qin Feiyang, his eyes suddenly became gloomy. However, Qin Feiyang didn't seem to hear it. He narrowed his eyes and looked Wu Yang up and down. Soon, he vaguely sensed a familiar bloody aura on Wu Yang's body. He actually took the blood demon pill too. A cold light flashed in the depths of his eyes and he said with a faint smile, "What? Won't you let me in?" "You're not welcome." Wu Yong shook his head. "It's not up to you." Qin Feiyong shook his head and smiled. He directly pushed Wu Yong away and strode in. "You." Wu Yong was about to get angry. "I advise you to close the stone door immediately. Otherwise, if those people outside know about your evil deeds, I'm afraid you will die on the spot." Qin Feiyong said without turning his head. "What do you mean?" Wu Yong frowned, but in the end, he still closed the stone door. Just as the stone door closed, Qin Feiyong released his holy aura and directly imprisoned Wu Yong. "What are you doing?" Wu Yong was shocked and furious. Qin Feiyong didn't answer. He tore off Wu Yang's clothes and a Chenkuan bag suddenly fell to the ground. "If I'm not wrong, there should be more blood demon pills in this Chenkuan bag." Qin Feiyong laughed and then bent down to pick up the Chenkuan bag and began to search. How did he know?" Hearing Qin Feiyong's words, Wu Yong felt as if he was struck by lightning and his face instantly turned pale. Not long after, Qin Feiyong took out a few blood demon pills from the Chenkuan bag. Seeing this, Wu Yong was completely desperate. Qin Feiyong glanced at the blood demon pills, then looked at Wu Yong and said with a smile, "You've got guts." As he spoke, he also withdrew his holy aura. Plop! Wu Yong immediately knelt on the ground and begged, "Junior brother Mu, no, senior brother Mu, please, don't tell anyone. I'll do whatever you want me to do." "It's too late. Young Master Hao already knows about this," Qin Feiyong said. "What? Even young Master Hao knows?" Wu Yang's face was ashen and terrified to the extreme. "Yes. But at present, he only knows that Wu Shan is taking blood demon pills to improve his cultivation, but he doesn't know that you are also taking them," Qin Feiyong said. "This is a good thing," Wu Yong said instinctively. "This is indeed a good thing. Because as long as I don't say it, young Master Hao will never know." Qin Feiyong laughed. "You?" Wu Yong looked at Qin Feiyong in a daze and suddenly understood and said, "What do you want me to do to keep this secret?" "Very smart. First, I want 3 kinds of 7th grade alchemy fire. Second, find out the location of Mu Jia's lair as soon as possible. Third, if there is any movement in your Qilin tribe, you must tell me as soon as possible." Qin Feiyong said. This, Wu Yong was dumbfounded. The third point is not difficult, but with the 7th grade alchemy fire and Mu Jia's lair, it is impossible to do. Whether you can do it or not is your business, I just want the result. Qin Feiyong said. "Well, I will try my best." Wu Yong gritted his teeth and nodded, because he knew that he had no choice but to agree. "Then I will wait for your good news. In addition, go and fake a scene of Wu Shan being killed," Qin Feiyong said. "Brother Shan is dead?" Wu Yang's face suddenly changed. "Yes, I killed him. Only blame him for being stupid and overconfident to come and attack me." Qin Feiyong smiled coldly, and then his hands formed a seal. A seal of slavery appeared in an instant and merged into Wu Yang's head. He did this just in case. After the seal of slavery was completed, he did not continue to stay and immediately opened the portal to leave. Even Brother Shan was killed. Wu Yong took a long time to recover, and sadly said, "Brother Shan, why are you so stupid? Of all people to mess with, you had to provoke this evil star. Now you dragged me down with you." In addition to the sadness, he also began to resent Wu Shan. If it weren't for Wu Shan's repeated instigation, he wouldn't have touched this blood pill. "It's you who put me in this situation. I can only let you down." After a while, Wu Yong muttered to himself as he opened a teleportation gate and walked in. Late that night, Wu Yong returned to the main tower with blood all over his body. Both of his arms were broken. And he also brought back a piece of news that shocked countless people. Wu Shan was dead. The specific situation was that he and Wu Shan went to the mountains to hunt in the afternoon, and when they were about to return in the evening, they were suddenly attacked by a saint beast. Wu Shan was killed on the spot, and even his body was swallowed by the saint beast. He himself had only managed to escape with great difficulty. And because of the relationship between Wu Yong and Wu Shan, after hearing this news, whether it was the people of the main tower or the people of the Qilin tribe, they didn't have any doubts. Of course. After all, Wu Shan was the king of the second tower. His death was a great loss to the Qilan tribe and the main tower. They all felt angry and regretful. However, the tragedy had already happened, so they could only accept it. Only Qin Feiyong knew that this was a lie made up by Wu Yang. No, there was another person who knew. This person was young Master Hao. Deep in the main tower, in a certain mountain stream, there was an exquisite courtyard. Young Master Hao sat alone in the garden, staring at the night sky, his eyes full of confusion. During the day, Qin Feiyong told him that Wu Shan died in the White Tiger Mountain range, and was killed by Qin Feiyong. Why did it change at night? What was hidden in this? Was Qin Feiyong lying, or was Wu Yang lying? Similarly, in the depths of the main tower, in a secluded place, there was also a courtyard. At this moment, in the courtyard, it was brightly lit. In the hall of the attic, an old man in white sat in front of the tea table, staring at the bubbling teapot. His hands were clenched together, and his old face was full of anger. It was Elder Wang. On the left and right sides of the tea table, there was a middle-aged couple sitting. Both of them looked middle-aged. The man was more than 1.8 meters, neither fat nor thin, wearing a purple robe. His two thick eyebrows were neatly trimmed, like two sharp swords, exuding a fierce aura. The middle-aged woman was also wearing a purple robe, with a gorgeous jade hairpin on her head. Her long hair was tied up high, and she looked graceful and elegant, with an extraordinary temperament. The two of them were also silent, and their faces were quite ugly. In the hall, except for the sound of boiling tea, there was a dead silence. At the same time, a woman in white was hiding outside the door. It was none other than Wang Yu. She stuck her head out, glancing at Elder Wang and the other two from time to time, looking extremely nervous. Bastard! Time passed by slowly. Suddenly, Elder Wang slammed his palm on the coffee table, and the boiling teapot was immediately sent flying. It rolled onto the floor and shattered into pieces with a loud crack. Wang Yu's delicate body trembled, and she immediately retracted her head, her face full of panic. Seeing Elder Wang flip out, the middle-aged couple was also a little nervous and worried. Whoosh! Suddenly, Elder Wang looked at the door with an aggressive gaze and shouted, "How long are you going to stand outside? Get your ass in here. Bastard, it's all your fault." Wang Yu cursed secretly. The person she was cursing was naturally Qin Feiyong. Chapter 965. Look up at me. Wang Su shouted coldly. He usually only doted on Wang Yu and was even afraid that she would melt in his hands. But at this moment, he just couldn't control the anger in his heart. Wang Yu's delicate body trembled as she raised her head and looked at Wang Su pitifully. 2 drops of tears were squeezed out of her eyes. "Don't pretend to be pitiful." Wang Su ignored her and said in a deep voice, "Do you know how much this matter has affected us?" "I know." Wang Yu nodded and immediately explained, "But grandfather, I was forced. It's all that bastard Ancestor Mu's fault." "Forced?" "Ancestor Mu is just a 1-star battle saint. How can he force you, a 9-star battle saint, to do such a thing? Do you think I'm stupid?" Cough cough. Wang Su became angrier as he spoke and finally coughed violently. "Father, don't be angry. It's not good for your health to be angry." The purple-clothed woman immediately stood up and gently patted Wang Su's back. At the same time, she gave Wang Yu a look. Wang Yu looked at the purple-clothed woman and then lowered her head, saying, "Grandfather, I was wrong. I won't dare to do it again." Wang Su took a deep breath and gestured for the purple-clothed woman to leave. The purple-clothed woman looked at Wang Yu helplessly and returned to her seat, remaining silent. Wang Su looked at Wang Yu for a moment and suddenly pointed to the middle-aged couple. He looked at Wang Yu and said, "Your parents are high-ranking people in the main pagoda. As for your grandfather, although I'm old, I'm still a person of virtue and prestige. Now that you've done such a thing, where are our faces?" "Yes. We've always warned you not to use charm unless it's a last resort. Why didn't you listen?" The purple-clothed man next to him also sighed. "Father, mother, grandfather, I really didn't mean it. Please forgive me." Wang Yu looked at the 3 of them and lowered her head. In fact, she also felt wronged. Not only was she taken advantage of, but she also came back to be scolded. What was going on? Looking at Wang Yuer's appearance, the purple-clothed woman couldn't bear it. She turned to Wang Su and said with a smile, "Father, you see, it has already happened. Yuer also knows her mistake. Please calm down and don't scold her." "Scolding her and your heart ached? I'm telling you, I still want to beat her up. And you guys, if it weren't for you guys spoiling her and accommodating her in everything, would she have dared to do such a thing today?" Wang Su vented his anger on the middle-aged couple. "Father, that's not right. Aren't you the one who usually dotes on you the most? Why are you blaming us now?" The purple-clothed woman was displeased. "What is it? Can't I say that you are?" Wang Su was fuming with rage. "Yes, but..." The purple-robed woman nodded, but before she could finish her sentence, the purple-robed man beside her transmitted his voice. "Can't you see that the old man is in a fit of anger? Stop talking so much." The purple-clothed woman's lips moved, but she chose to remain silent in the end. Then the purple-robed man looked at Wang Su and said with a smile, "Father, now that things have come to this, it's useless to say more. It's better to think about how to solve this problem." After a moment of silence, Wang Su pointed to the door and said to Wang Yuer, "Stand outside. Go quickly. Don't make your grandfather angry again." The middle-aged couple immediately sent voice transmissions to Wang Yuer. Wang Yuer turned around and walked out aggrievedly. Wang Su waved his sleeve and the door closed with a bang. Wang Yuer put her ear on the door, wanting to hear what the three of them were talking about. But there was no sound from inside. Obviously, Wang Su and the other two in the room were secretly communicating. A moment later, Wang Su finally walked out and glanced at Wang Yuer, saying in a deep voice, "I'm going to meet the chief pagoda master, and from now on without my order, you're not allowed to leave this place." "Yes." Wang Yuer lowered her head and replied like an obedient child. "Humph." Wang Su snorted and turned into a stream of light, disappearing into the night sky at lightning speed. The middle-aged couple also did the same. "Father, Mother, what's the result of your discussion with Grandpa?" Wang Yuer quickly looked at the two of them and asked. "Sigh." The two of them looked at Wang Yuer deeply and finally let out a long sigh. Without saying anything, they flew into the sky and left. "How can this be? I'm the victim. Shouldn't you ask for my opinion first?" Wang Yuer stomped her feet in anger. "Sister, are you sure you're the victim?" Suddenly, a wicked laugh sounded, and outside the courtyard, a young man in white walked out of the darkness. It was young Master Hao. "Brat, what did you say?" Wang Yuer looked at young Master Hao and suddenly frowned. Young Master Hao flashed and landed beside Wang Yuer, smiling slyly. "Sister, how do you feel?" "How do I feel?" Wang Yuer was stunned and asked. Young Master Hao said, "Nonsense, of course it's the feeling of being intimate with Ancestor Mu." "Are you courting death?" Wang Yuer stretched out her claws and grabbed young Master Hao's face. "Ouch, ouch, ouch. Let go." For a time, young Master Hao howled miserably. "Humph." Wang Yuer snorted and let go of her hand. Staring at the night sky, she said, "This bastard, I will not let him go." "Alas. Brother Mu, you're on your own now." Looking at Wang Yuer's fierce look, young Master Hao couldn't help shaking his head and sighing, muttering secretly. "By the way, what are you doing here?" "Don't tell me you're here to laugh at me." Wang Yuer turned to look at young Master Hao, and the threat in her eyes was not concealed at all. "You're my most respected sister. How can I be here to laugh at you?" Young Master Hao said righteously. In fact, he was here to laugh at her. "Then what are you here for?" Wang Yuer frowned. Young Master Hao sneakily glanced around and said with a low voice, "I'm here to give you advice." Wang Yuer's eyes lit up and she said, "Tell me." "Ancestor Mu, this bastard. How dare he bully you? We can't let him go easily. So I think it's best to kill him directly." Young Master Hao said indignantly, but there was a hint of ridicule in his eyes. "How dare you trick me? You're courting death." Wang Yuer's veins suddenly bulged, and she showed a fierce look. Seeing that the situation was not good, young Master Hao decisively slipped away and laughed without looking back. "Sister, this is called evil people will be dealt with by evil people. Let's see if you dare to tease us in the future." Then he quickly disappeared into the night sky, leaving Wang Yuer standing alone at the door, sulking. In the sky, the waning moon hung high in the sky, and the moonlight was hazy. Whoosh! Somewhere in the sacred ground, there was a tall ancient tower. From afar, it looked like an ancient fierce beast lurking in the night. This was the sacred tower. Suddenly, with a piercing sound, a purple stream of light rushed out of the sacred tower and broke through the sky like lightning. At the same time, in the alchemy room of the first tower, Qin Feiyong sat cross-legged in the cultivation room, closing his eyes and meditating. Without the need to copy the six-word formula, coupled with the talent given to him by the purple gold dragon blood, his cultivation speed was faster than before. So he didn't want to waste a minute or a second. Besides, there were still 2 years before the miracle would open, and he didn't have time to waste. Time passed by. Dong. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Qin Feiyong opened his eyes, and there was a trace of suspicion in his eyes. Who would come to find him in the middle of the night? He got up and walked to the door. When he opened the stone door, a young man in purple suddenly entered his sight. Qin Feiyong's pupils shrank. This person was tall, and his face was like jade. His eyes were like stars, and his thick black hair was like a sharp sword. He exuded an astonishing aura. The most important thing was that this person's aura was very strong, and Qin Feiyong couldn't see through it at all. Without waiting for Qin Feiyong to speak, the young man in purple walked into the alchemy room uninvited. You are? Qin Feiyong frowned. Close the door. The young man in purple didn't answer, nor did he look back at Qin Feiyong. Whether it was his tone or his posture, he was incomparably cold and arrogant. This is my alchemy room. Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows and said coldly. As long as this person was a little polite, he would welcome him with a smile, but this person was too rude. As for those who were rude and unreasonable, he had never been kind to them. The young man in purple slowly turned around and looked at Qin Feiyong with an aggressive gaze. If there's nothing else, please leave. Qin Feiyong said indifferently, turning a blind eye. You're really as arrogant and overbearing as the rumors say. But I'm not just anyone. You'd better be sensible and close the door immediately. The young man in purple smiled coldly with a commanding tone. Ha ha, Qin Feiyong laughed and said, who do you think you are ordering me around here? Then listen carefully. I'm one of the 3 kings of the Holy Tower, the direct disciple of the Holy Tower Master, and the son of the Qilin tribe's leader, Wu Jian. And your alchemy room number 10 is the leftover one. Now tell me, do I have the right to order you around? Wu Jian said proudly. Qin Feiyong was extremely surprised. He didn't expect this person to have so many identities. The key was that each identity was scary enough. The king of the Holy Tower, the disciple of the Holy Tower Master, the son of the Qilin tribe's leader. This person was truly loved and doted on by everyone. Wait a minute. The son of the Qilin tribe? Qin Feiyong's heart trembled and said, who is Wu Xiao to you? Wu Jian said, he's my younger brother. I see. Qin Feiyong came to a realization and said, as far as I know, your younger brother was killed by Qin Feiyong. Since you're so strong, why don't you go find Qin Feiyong for revenge? Why come here to intimidate me? Or did Wu Jian already know his true identity? Hearing these words, Wu Jian's eyes flashed with killing intent and said, you don't need to say this. Qin Feiyong, that ant, will die under my sword sooner or later. Then I'll wait and see. Qin Feiyong chuckled. At the same time, he was secretly relieved. Wu Jian's words were enough to show that he didn't know he was Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong closed the stone door and said indifferently, speak, why are you looking for me? Leave the main tower immediately. No, leave the central divine kingdom and never show yourself in front of Wang Yuer again. Wu Jian said. Qin Feiyong was stunned. So it was because of Wang Yuer. He looked at Wu Jian's eyes and found that when Wu Jian mentioned Wang Yuer, there was a trace of admiration in his eyes. He immediately understood. Chapter 966. I'm really a fool. Qin Feiyong sighed. Because of Wang Yuer's nonsense, not only did he have to worry about Wang Su and Wang Yuer's parents, but he also attracted such a powerful love rival. The key was that he couldn't explain it clearly, because no one would believe him even if he did. What a headache. Seeing that Qin Feiyong didn't speak for a long time, Wu Jian raised his brows slightly and said, as long as you're willing to leave, I can satisfy any of your conditions. And Qin Feiyong looked up at Wu Yan and frowned. Who do you think I am? Stop pretending. Didn't you take a fancy to Wang Yuer because of her family background? Wu Jian sneered. Qin Feiyong shook his head and laughed. It seemed that this person was not only arrogant but also self-righteous. I don't want to waste too much time on you. Tell me, what do you want? Wu Jian said. That gaze was as if he was looking at an insignificant and pitiful worm. What do I want? Qin Feiyong smiled coldly and said, I want to ask you, Wang Yuer is already my woman now. Don't you dislike her? Damn it! You and her have really... Wu Jian was furious. He took a step forward and grabbed Qin Feiyong's clothes on his chest. His eyes were as sharp as a blade. Yes. We are already in the Longfeng house. What's done can't be undone. Maybe soon, she will be pregnant with my child. Qin Feiyong didn't resist and nodded with a smile. I'm going to kill you. Wu Jian's face was ferocious and murderous. Do you dare? We are now in the main tower. Moreover, I will soon become the direct disciple of the main tower master. Killing me is destroying your own future. Qin Feiyong sneered. Wu Jian's pupils constricted as he looked coldly at Qin Feiyong, but in the end, he let go and shook his head. As long as I can get her, I don't care about anything. Qin Feiyong was surprised. He had already said so, but this person actually accepted it. Wasn't this person too magnanimous? Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed and he teased. What if you really has my child? Who do you think you are? What right do you have to call her so intimately? Wu Jian roared angrily, his hands tightly clenched together. It was obvious that his patience had been ground to the limit. First of all, I'm Yuer's man. Naturally, I can call her that. Secondly, I'm not interested in the things you mentioned. In the end, you really are a hypocrite. Do you really think I'll believe that you like you? You're just interested in her family background and want to use her to achieve your ambitions. Thus, to people like you, I only want to say one thing. Scram as far as you can, and don't bother me. The door is right there. I won't be seeing you out. Qin Feiyong waved his hand and opened the stone door. He looked at Wu Jian with disgust. All right, just you wait. Even if you become the chief pagoda master's disciple, I won't let you have an easy time. Wu Jian looked at him gloomily. In the end, he flicked his sleeves and left after saying some harsh words. Be careful. There are too many stairs. Don't trip. Qin Feiyong waved his hand and smiled brightly. Wu Jian's face was terrifyingly gloomy. Bam! Qin Feiyong waved his hand again and the stone door closed. His eyes also turned cold. This person definitely wouldn't let it go. It seemed that he had to find an opportunity to strike first. He pondered for a while. He took out the image crystal. In a short while, Yan Wei's shadow appeared. Qin Feiyong said, keep an eye on Wu Jian. If there's a chance, get rid of him. Wu Jian? Yan Wei was suspicious. Qin Feiyong said, you can ask Li He about his detailed information. In short, I don't want to see him again. Okay. Yan Wei nodded. After turning off the image crystal, he immediately took action. What's so great about being a king of the sacred tower? Since you dare to come looking for trouble, you still have to die. Qin Feiyong smiled coldly. He also put away the image crystal and entered the cultivation room. He took out a battle chi pill and continued to cultivate with his eyes closed. The next day, early in the morning, a group of deacon elders were busy in the square of the Pill Pagoda. Some people were decorating. Some people were placing chairs and tea tables. Gong Sun Bei was also there, but he didn't do anything. He was just supervising. Less than half an hour later, the originally simple square became magnificent. There was a layer of red carpet on the ground. In front of the square, there was a high platform with a golden statue. It was incomparably imposing. What are they doing? The disciples passing by couldn't help but stop and look at the deacon elders suspiciously. They should be preparing for the ceremony. Someone whispered. Sigh. This ancestor Mu is really lucky. How long has it been since he entered the Pill Pagoda? He was actually valued by the Pill Pagoda master, and even captured the heart of Elder Wang's granddaughter. Why don't I have such luck? Someone sighed, his face full of envy. As time passed breath by breath, more and more people gathered. After the deacon elders were properly arranged, they took their places under the command of Gong Sun Bei to maintain order. As for Gong Sun Bei, he stayed on the high platform. Gradually, the sun rose from the horizon. The sunlight shone on the earth, reviving everything and making them full of vitality. The leader of the Qilin tribe has come with the high priest to congratulate. Suddenly, accompanied by a loud voice, a middle-aged man descended on the square. Beside him was a black-clothed old man. Both of them had a Qilin pattern on their clothes. Gong Sun Bei stood on the high platform and looked at the two with a smile. "You two are really early. Please sit. How dare we neglect the Pill Pagoda Master's disciple ceremony?" Before his voice faded, two more people appeared out of thin air. They were also a middle-aged man and an old man, but the difference was that on their clothes, there was a small golden sword pattern embroidered on their clothes. They are from the Immortal Sword Tribe. It seems that this time, the people from the top 10 tribes will come to congratulate. You must be from the countryside. Don't you know that the Scorpion tribe has been exterminated? Hee, I forgot that it is now one of the top 9 tribes. The surrounding disciples discussed in low voices. Whoosh! Soon, two more figures appeared. These two were a middle-aged man and a middle-aged woman. The man was tall and burly, and the woman was still charming. They came hand in hand, and the pattern on their chests was a lifelike divine python. The leader and high priest of the divine python tribe are also here. This ceremony is really grand. Yes, from today onwards, Ancestor Mu will be a well-known figure in the Central Divine Kingdom. Countless people sighed in their hearts. Thinking back, when Ancestor Mu first entered the Pill Pagoda, who would have thought that there would be such a day? Next, the leaders and high priests of the other top tribes also arrived one after another. Everyone's cultivation was unfathomable. And in addition to the top 9 tribes, the pavilion master of the trading pavilion also came. In short, although there were not many people who came this time, they were all existences standing at the top of the pyramid of the Forgotten Continent. I believe that the master of the head pagoda will be very pleased that everyone is able to come as promised. On behalf of the master of the head pagoda, I would also like to sincerely thank everyone who came from afar. Gong Sun Bei smiled and then bowed to everyone. Brother Gong Sun is too polite. Although we are not from the head pagoda, we have always been grateful to the head pagoda. Yes. If the Forgotten Continent did not have the protection of the head pagoda, there would not be tribes like us, and we would not be able to live such a comfortable life. The big shot stood up and smiled. However, as long as one was not a fool, one could tell that these were just polite words. Of course. Gong Sun Bei also could not break this layer of membrane. He smiled and said, "Everyone, please take a seat. Come, serve tea to the lords." Soon, more than a dozen deacon elders came out, carrying teapots and teacups, and sent them to the big shots. The big shots also drank tea while chatting in private. Another half an hour passed. Whoosh! Suddenly, a burst of ear-piercing sound broke through the air. Following closely, one figure after another landed on the square. There were men and women, old and young, and their auras were all extremely powerful. Hanging from their waists was a pure gold medallion. That's right. They were all divine envoys, and there were hundreds of them. As soon as these divine envoys arrived, the square immediately fell silent. Because they all knew that the master of the head pagoda was about to arrive. Sure enough, in less than 10 breaths, the master of the head pagoda appeared on the high platform in front of them out of thin air. And behind the master of the head pagoda, there were dozens of people. Young Master Hao, Wang Yuer, Wang Su, and Wang Yuer's parents. The rest were the 10 tower masters of the Pill Pagoda, the 10 peak masters of the Warrior Mountain Range, and the law enforcement elders. Greetings, Master of the Head Pagoda. Everyone below all stood up and bowed. The disciples around even knelt down to worship. Tisk, what's there to worship? But in the crowd, there was a person with a trace of disdain in his eyes. It was Fatso. And Chu Xian was also next to him. In fact, Fatso was not interested in this so-called grand ceremony at all. It was because Chu Xian was coming that he followed to take a look. Today is a very special day. Everyone, don't be so polite, please sit down. The master of the head pagoda said with a smile. The disciples around got up one after another. The big shots also returned to their seats one after another. And the people on the high platform also took their seats one by one. The master of the head pagoda sat in the center, under the golden statue. Next was Elder Wang Yu-er's parents. Next were the peak masters, tower masters, and law enforcement elders. As for young Master Hao and Wang Yu-er, they stood behind the master of the head pagoda and Elder Wang respectively. The master of the head pagoda glanced at the crowd and was slightly stunned. He turned to look at Gong Sunbei and asked, "Where is Ancestor Mu? Why don't I see him?" Today's main character was Qin Feiyang. Without the main character, the ceremony would definitely not be able to proceed. Faced with the master of the head pagoda's question, Gong Sunbei also had a suspicious look on his face. Young Master Hao frowned and asked Gong Sunbei, "Didn't you send someone to inform him? It's such a big matter that the entire city knows about it. There's no need to specially inform him." Gong Sunbei said, "I say, you're muddle-headed. Don't you know what kind of person he is? He's simply a cultivation maniac. I can guarantee that he definitely doesn't know that a grand ceremony is being held here." Young Master Hao said helplessly. Gong Sunbei was stunned and said with a wry smile, "I neglected that. I'll immediately send someone to call him here." "No need. I'll send a message to him directly." Chapter 967. After a while, Qin Feiyang's shadow appeared. "He's really cultivating." Looking at Qin Feiyang sitting cross-legged on the futon in the cultivation room, everyone's face twitched. He didn't even know such an important thing. This person was indeed a cultivation maniac. Young Master Hao frowned and said, "Brother, do you know what day it is today? Why are you still in the mood to cultivate?" "Brother?" Everyone was shocked. This title had extraordinary meaning. "What day?" Qin Feiyang was a little confused. Young Master Hao was extremely depressed and said helplessly, "I say, can you not cultivate all day long? If you have time, come out more often." "What the hell is going on?" Qin Feiyang frowned. Young Master Hao stood behind the Chief Pagoda Master, so Qin Feiyang could only see the golden statue and couldn't see the Chief Pagoda Master and the others. And that statue was an old man. He was very familiar with it. It was the statue of the first Chief Pagoda Master. "Are you impatient? Do you know that many people are waiting for you now? Come to the Pill Pagoda Square, immediately, right now," Young Master Hao said, and then turned off the image crystal. "Chief Pagoda Master, congratulations, you have a good disciple." "Yes. We have all heard about the deeds of this child. Originally, we thought that he was just talented, but we didn't expect him to be so hard-working. With his efforts, he will become a great person in the future." The leaders of the major tribes laughed. Hee. The Chief Pagoda Master was also full of smiles. Swish. After a few breaths. Outside the crowd, Qin Feiyang appeared out of thin air. "What's going on?" Looking at the sea of people in front of him and the gorgeous square, Qin Feiyang was stunned. "He's here." At the same time, everyone also looked at Qin Feiyang. Boss is indeed the boss. He accidentally became the center of attention again. In the crowd, Fatso looked at Qin Feiyang and laughed, his face full of admiration. "What are you waiting for? Come here quickly." On the high platform, young Master Hao waved his hand and shouted. Qin Feiyang came back to his senses and looked up. His pupils immediately shrank. The Chief Tower Master is also here? Moreover, why were all the big shots of the main tower here? Could it be that these magnates were going to interrogate him in public because of Wang Yu? He walked towards the high platform with a nervous heart. The crowd in front automatically retreated to the sides and opened up a path. Their eyes were filled with envy. Something's not right. Why are these people looking at me strangely? The more Qin Feiyang looked, the more puzzled he became. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang stopped and looked at the man and woman. This man and woman were the chief and high priestess of the divine python tribe. To be exact, Qin Feiyang was looking at the divine python pattern on their chests. In the meantime, seeing Qin Feiyang looking at them, the chief and high priest of the divine python tribe nodded at Qin Feiyang with a smile to show their friendliness. However, the two of them were also quite puzzled. There were so many people present. Why were they looking at the two of them? Ahem. Seeing this, Gong Sunbei on the high platform clenched his fist and coughed dryly. Qin Feiyong quivered and quickly retracted his gaze. He strode to the bottom of the high platform and bowed. Disciple Mu Zhu greets Lord Chief Pagoda Master and Seniors. Yes. Everyone nodded. Gong Sunbei smiled and asked, Do you know what day it is today? Please tell me. Qin Feiyong said. Today is the day the Chief Tower Master accepts you as his disciple. This ceremony is specially prepared for you. But you hid in the alchemy room to cultivate and made everyone wait for so long. Gong Sunbei said unhappily. Qin Feiyong was startled. Soon after he smiled bitterly and said, So that's how it is. This matter is indeed due to this disciple's negligence. I hope that Lord Chief Pagoda Master and Seniors can forgive me. It's okay. Don't listen to Gong Sunbei's nonsense. We just arrived. The Chief Tower Master smiled. I say, sir, can you not ruin my plans? Gong Sunbei looked helplessly at the Chief Tower Master and then at Qin Feiyong. Let me introduce you. He pointed at the leaders of the 9 tribes and said, They are the leaders and high priests of the 9 super tribes. They are here to congratulate you. Qin Feiyong looked at those people and said, Thank you, seniors. The leaders of the 9 tribes also showed a faint smile on their faces. And this is the Tower Master of the Trading Pavilion. Gong Sunbei pointed at an old man in white. The old man was skinny and had white hair and a white beard. He held a cane and looked very weak, but the aura he emitted was extremely terrifying. Qin Feiyong looked at the old man and said, Greetings, Tower Master. Today is a big day for my little friend. No need to be so polite. I'm also indebted to the Chief Tower Master for inviting this old man to participate in the ceremony. Thus, this old man has prepared a small gift. I hope you don't mind. The old man chuckled. With that, the old man stood up and waved his hand. A stream of light flew toward Qin Feiyong. What is it? The Tower Master must have some amazing treasure. Everyone stared at the stream of light. There's a gift? Qin Feiyong was quite surprised and couldn't help but look forward to it. Swish! Finally! The stream of light stopped in front of Qin Feiyong and revealed its true appearance. It turned out to be a cauldron. The cauldron was copper in color and glowed. There were 2 fire phoenixes on it, flapping their wings and looking very lifelike. Such a blazing treasure light. It must be at least a grade 6 cauldron. Everyone was moved and their eyes were burning. The old man smiled and said, This cauldron is called the Fire Phoenix Cauldron. It is a grade 7 cauldron. Please accept it. What? A grade 7 cauldron? The scene was in an uproar. Even the leaders and high priests of the 9 super tribes couldn't help but be moved. The so-called gift was actually a grade 7 cauldron. This old man was really generous. Qin Feiyong was also a little excited. He was worried that he couldn't find a grade 7 cauldron. He didn't expect that someone would give it to him now. Senior, thank you for your gift. If you need my help in the future, please don't hesitate to tell me. Qin Feiyong bowed and said. The old man chuckled, returned to his seat and fell silent. Qin Feiyong immediately put away the Fire Phoenix Cauldron. At this time, the leader of the Divine Python tribe stood up. With a clang, a cluster of elixir fire appeared. Little brother, our Divine Python tribe is not as rich as the trading tower. This is a grade 6 cauldron fire. Please don't mind it. As soon as he finished speaking, the leader of the Divine Python tribe waved his hand and the elixir fire flew to Qin Feiyong. Thank you, Senior. Qin Feiyong bowed and thanked him. The grade 6 cauldron fire was indeed of no value to him, but it was better than nothing, right? Moreover, the grade 6 cauldron fire was also a rare treasure of heaven and earth. Even if he didn't need it, he could give it away or exchange it for a large amount of wealth. Next, the leaders of the other super tribes also presented congratulatory gifts. There were precious medicinal herbs. There were superior battle arts. There were weapons that could cut iron like mud. There were grade 5 cauldron fires. Compared to the trading tower and the Divine Python tribe, these gifts were much inferior. But Qin Feiyong still accepted them one by one. After all, this was a token of goodwill from others. If he refused in public, not only would it embarrass others, but it would also show that he didn't know how to behave. After receiving the gifts, Gong Sun Bei smiled and said, "Now the apprenticeship ceremony begins. Please keep quiet." Wait. At this moment, a heavenly voice sounded. Following closely. In the distant void, a pale golden figure broke through the air like lightning. Who is she? Everyone looked at the golden figure suspiciously. It's her. But there was a trace of excitement in young Master Hao's eyes. Because the person who came was the young lady of the Dragon Phoenix house. Qin Feiyong also recognized her voice, and there was a trace of doubt on his face. Whoosh! After a few breaths, the woman landed on the square and slowly walked towards the high platform. She had an exquisite figure and wore a pale golden floor-length dress. Her entire person looked incomparably luxurious. But on her face, there was also a pale golden veil covering her true face. Only a pair of ethereal eyes could be seen. And those eyes were crystal clear like black gemstones, without the slightest impurity. Greetings to the Chief Tower Master. I came uninvited. I hope the Chief Tower Master will forgive me. The woman stood beside Qin Feiyong and bowed respectfully to the head pagoda master. The Chief Tower Master looked at the woman suspiciously and smiled. All visitors are guests. Prepare a seat. A deacon elder immediately stepped forward, took out a seat from his Chenkuan bag, and placed it next to the pavilion master of the trading tower. Thank you. The woman smiled and then looked at Qin Feiyong. She took out a jade box from her bosom and handed it to Qin Feiyong. She smiled faintly and said, "Young Master Mu, this is a small gift I prepared. I hope you will accept it." Qin Feiyong took it in his hand suspiciously. He opened the jade box and saw a jade slip inside. Qin Feiyong took out the jade slip and immersed his mind into it. Immediately, his eyes trembled. This was a perfect battle art. Whoosh! Qin Feiyong took a deep breath and put away the jade box and jade slip. He cupped his hands and smiled. Thank you, young master. The woman smiled, turned around and walked to the front of the seat. She nodded to the pavilion master and sat there elegantly and quietly. And young Master Hao's gaze was always on her. The Chief Tower Master frowned and said, "How, behave yourself." Got it. Young Master Hao glanced at him impatiently and then looked at the woman again. The adoration on his face was not concealed at all. Gong Sun Bei also looked at the woman and then smiled. Then let the ceremony begin. As soon as he finished speaking, a deacon elder walked out with an exquisite tray with a cup of tea on it. The fragrance of the tea spread as he walked to Qin Feiyong. Ancestor Mu, there are 3 steps to the apprenticeship ceremony. The first step is to bow. The second step is to serve tea. The third step is to accept the Chief Tower Master's test. After completing these 3 steps, you will officially become the Chief Tower Master's personal disciple. Gong Sun Bei smiled. Qin Feiyong nodded and bowed 3 times to the Chief Tower Master. Then, he walked to the high platform with the teacup. I won't let you do as you wish. At the same time, somewhere in the crowd stood a young man in purple. He looked at Qin Feiyong with eyes full of killing intent. It was Wu Jian. Then. Chapter 968. In an instant, everyone looked at Wu Jian. Qin Feiyong also raised his eyebrows, stopped, and turned to look at Wu Jian, his eyes flashing with a fierce light. It was not easy to get to this point. If he failed because of this person, he would never let this person go. Wu Jian, what are you doing? On the high platform, a purple-clothed woman frowned. She was Wang Yu-er's mother, the Holy Tower Master, and Wu Jian's master. Wu Jian bowed and said, Master, disciple has something to say. The purple-clothed woman said angrily, Can't you wait until the ceremony is over? As an existence second only to the Chief Tower Master, she naturally knew Qin Feiyong's situation very well. Not only was he highly valued by her father, Wang Su, but he also had a very good relationship with young Master Hao. The most important thing was that the Chief Tower Master also liked this child very much. So Wu Jian suddenly jumped out to stop them, which would definitely cause these people to be dissatisfied. Sure enough, whether it was Wang Su or young Master Hao, they all frowned. Wu Jian said, Master, it's too late to say these words now. You! The purple-clothed woman was furious. Let him speak. At this moment, the Chief Tower Master spoke, looking a little displeased. Yes. The purple-clothed woman respectfully responded, looked at Wu Jian, and said, hurry up and say it, then leave. Wu Jian glanced at Qin Feiyong, then looked at the chief tower master and the others, and said, disciple thinks that Ancestor Mu is not worthy to be the chief tower master's disciple. Nonsense. Go back to the Holy Land. The purple-clothed woman suddenly stood up and shouted angrily. Others might not know, but she knew that Qin Feiyong had obtained the inheritance of the first chief tower master and was the next chief tower master candidate. And he had an appointment with the chief tower master. If he was not worthy, who was? But in the face of the purple-clothed woman's rebuke, Wu Jian was not afraid and said, Master Lords, disciple admits that Ancestor Mu's talent is indeed amazing, but what about his strength? The chief tower master and the others looked at each other, then looked at Wu Jian again, waiting for him to continue. Wu Jian said, disciple went to see him last night, and felt that his strength was not very good. Are you strong? A disdainful voice sounded from the crowd. It was Fatso. But as soon as Fatso spoke, a portion of the surrounding disciples immediately looked at him strangely. What is it? Am I wrong? Fatso frowned. Of course you're wrong. And it's a grave mistake. Do you know who he is? His name is Wu Jian, one of the 3 kings of the Holy Tower. It is said that he is about to break through to the combat emperor realm. Do you think he's strong? A few disciples said disdainfully. I'll go. Fatso was dumbfounded. Wasn't this too terrifying? In the meantime, Wu Jian looked at Fatso with disdain, then looked at Qin Feiyong and said, if you don't agree with what I said, you can have a one-on-one duel with me. Duel? Everyone was stunned. This was a little too much. One was a 1-star battle saint while the other was a 9-star battle saint. There was simply no comparison. Have you had enough? If you're done, then go back. The purple-clothed woman was on the verge of exploding in anger. Wu Jian's current actions were undoubtedly embarrassing her. And Wu Jian seemed to have long expected that everyone would have such a reaction. He looked at Qin Feiyong with contempt and said, of course, I won't bully you. I will suppress my cultivation to the same level as yours. If you still don't dare to accept my challenge, then I can only say that you are really a piece of trash. Seeing that Wu Jian was becoming more and more unscrupulous, the purple-clothed woman clenched her fists and was about to flip out. Actually, I feel that this battle needs to continue. After all, to become the chief pagoda master's disciple, one must have extraordinary means. Suddenly, a faint laughter sounded in the square. The person who spoke was the leader of the Qilan tribe. He was also Wu Jian's father. Although he didn't know why Wu Jian did this, as a father, he had to fully support his son. Seriously thinking about it, what Brother Wu said does make sense. Talent is important, but if you don't have powerful strength, it's useless. Another leader of a super tribe chimed in. Gongsun Bei looked at the chief pagoda master. The chief pagoda master pondered for a while, glanced at Wu Jian, then looked at Qin Feiyong and said, since someone doubts your ability, then you might as well prove it to them. Yes. Qin Feiyong bowed and replied. Give me the teacup. Gongsun Bei stepped forward and said with a smile. Qin Feiyong handed it over. Gongsun Bei took the teacup and retreated to the side. At the same time, Fatso anxiously transmitted his voice. Boss, you can't just casually attack. What if he got injured and exposed the purple gold dragon blood? I know. I won't give him a chance to fight back. Qin Feiyong secretly replied, and a trace of murderous intent flashed in the depths of his eyes. Wu Jian also sneered. Whoosh! The two rushed into the sky almost at the same time, standing in the air. At the same time, Mu Qing stood at the back of the crowd in a low-key manner. She raised her head and looked at Qin Feiyong, her eyes sparkling. Suddenly, he lowered his head and glanced at the chief pagoda master and others on the high platform, then opened the portal and appeared over a mountain outside the city, and immediately took out the image crystal. Bas! The next moment, a middle-aged man materialized. Mu Qing said, Father, let's act immediately. Act. Mu Jia's lord was stunned. His face was full of puzzlement. Mu Qing said, grab the scorching star flame. When Mu Jia's lord heard this, his face was full of surprise. He asked, aren't we going to wait for Qin Feiyong? We're not waiting. I know Qin Feiyong too well, If we really wait for him to grab the scorching star flame, he will definitely not give it to us. And at the beginning when we cooperated with him, we also said that when he grabbed the scorching star flame, we would exchange it with the fire qilin. Father, are you willing to give him the fire qilin? Mu Qing said. Of course not. Mu Jia's lord said without hesitation. The fire qilin is a mythological beast, and it's still a mythological beast standing at the top of the pyramid. In the future, it will become the strongest support of the Mu Jia. So, it's better for us to do it ourselves. And now the big shots of the Chief Pagoda are in the Pill Pagoda Square. This is undoubtedly an excellent opportunity. Mu Qing said. Mu Jia's lord hesitated. Because he has already figured out the background of the Chief Pagoda, in addition to the Chief Pagoda, there are 3 terrifying existences in the land of inheritance. Father, we can't hesitate anymore. As long as we do it quickly, no one will find out it's us. And when we do it, let someone disguise themselves as Qin Fei Yang and go to the Chief Pagoda. At that time, the Chief Pagoda will naturally think that it's Qin Fei Yang who took the scorching star flame. Mu Qing said. Okay, I'll arrange it right away. Hearing this, Mu Jia's lord nodded fiercely, and the shadow dissipated. Qin Fei Yang. This time you've finally lost to me. Mu Qing sneered, opened the portal again, and returned to the Pill Pagoda Square. Everyone's attention is now on Qin Fei Yang and Wu Jian, so no one noticed that he had left. In the blink of an eye, Gong Sun Bei glanced at Qin Fei Yang and Wu Jian and said, "Let's begin." Boom! Wu Jian's aura suddenly erupted, and the holy aura swept in all directions. Following closely, his aura continued to fall. Soon, he suppressed his cultivation to the level of a 1-star battle saint. You say, if you lose here, will the Chief Pagoda Master still accept you as a disciple? He was not in a hurry to make a move, and secretly transmitted his voice to Qin Fei Yang, with a thick playfulness. So confident? Then you'd better go all out, or else you may be the one to lose face. Qin Fei Yang said lightly. Back then, he could even defeat the emperor, let alone this clown in front of him. However, he did not dare to be too careless, because right now, he had many methods that he could not use. For example, battle soul, battle art. Even the Divine Dragon's secret art might expose his identity. Because the Divine Dragon's secret art was the most powerful divine art of his ancestor, and it might have been used in the Forgotten Continent. And once it was used, someone would definitely know. Of course, it could also be that he was being paranoid. But in this situation, he did not dare to gamble, nor did he have the capital to gamble. You still dare to be arrogant? It seems that you don't know how strong I am. Let me tell you, even if I suppress my cultivation to a 1-star battle saint, I can still kill you in seconds. Wu Jian sneered secretly, his killing intent piercing to the bone. Obviously, not only did Qin Fei Yang have the intention to kill, Wu Jian also had the intention to kill. In short, both of them had made up their minds to kill each other today. Young Master Hao raised his eyebrows and said, "If you want to fight, then hurry up, don't waste my time. Prepare to die." Wu Jian's gaze turned cold, and he immediately took a mysterious step, rushing towards Qin Fei Yang. His speed was extremely fast. Using a perfect auxiliary technique from the start, it seems that this bitch is planning to defeat Ancestor Mu easily. Young Master Hao muttered, then looked at Qin Fei Yang, and his expression suddenly froze. What did this bastard mean? Why was he motionless like a wooden man? Qin Fei Yang indeed did not move, and there was not the slightest bit of aura around his body, giving people the feeling that he had given up resisting. But no one noticed that his hands were tightly clenched together. They also did not know that on his palms, a golden return word had appeared. What the hell? Why don't you rush up and fight? Could it be like what Wu Jian said, that this person only has talent, but no strength? Looking at Qin Fei Yang standing motionlessly in the air, the eyes of the crowd below were filled with suspicion. Leader, who do you think will win? The high priest of the Qilin tribe secretly asked the leader of the Qilin tribe. Is there a need to ask? Jian is the most outstanding genius of my Qilin tribe. Usually, he often goes outside the city to fight with beasts to cultivate his combat awareness. As for this ancestor Mu, according to my inquiry, ever since he entered the main tower, he has been squatting in the alchemy room to cultivate in seclusion every day. It can be seen that he must be a pampered master with no combat experience. So there is no suspense at all. The final winner will definitely be Jian. The leader of the Qilin tribe smiled confidently. Makes sense. The high priest of the Qilin tribe nodded. If these words were heard by Qin Feiyong, he would definitely laugh from ear to ear. Pampered? In his dictionary, there had never been these words. Chapter 969. Boom. Finally. Wu Jian flew in front of Qin Feiyong. Are you afraid? If not, why aren't you moving? But it's too late to be afraid now. This is the consequence of going against me. Qilin Battle Fist. He sneered inwardly as he threw a punch at Qin Feiyong. The shadow of a fire Qilin roared out from Wu Jian's fist, exuding an aura that could destroy the world. This was also a perfect battle technique. The consequence of going against you. Qin Feiyong was silent, but his eyes were full of mockery. He really didn't know where this person found the confidence to say such words. The Qilin Battle Fist whistled. That powerful aura was earth-shattering, and even the void was trembling and distorting violently. It was also at this moment that Qin Feiyong moved. He suddenly raised his clenched hands, and two dazzling golden lights bloomed. Puff! Boom! Wu Jian was blasted away on the spot, spitting out blood, and his face was full of disbelief. Everything happened too suddenly, too quickly, and the people below did not know what was going on. But Wu Jian felt it deeply. Just as Qin Feiyong raised his hand, his Qilin Battle Fist actually changed sides and pounced back at him. Giving oneself a taste of their own medicine, what kind of battle art was this? Whoosh! Qin Feiyong's attack succeeded, and he instantly caught up and stood behind Wu Jian. Your biggest mistake is to suppress your cultivation to challenge me. Now, I'll send you to the afterlife. Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed with killing intent, and before Wu Jian could react, his right hand was like a blade, sinking into Wu Jian's back and grabbing Wu Jian's heart. No! That fatal crisis made Wu Jian tremble, and he hurriedly yelled. At the same time, the suppressed cultivation base also burst out. However, just before his aura erupted, Qin Feiyong smiled coldly, and his 5 fingers suddenly contracted, crushing Wu Jian's heart on the spot. Ah! A shrill scream resounded through the sky. At the same time, these screams also impacted everyone's eardrums and shocked everyone's hearts. Wu Jian is dead? He was insta-killed. When everyone saw this scene, they were dumbfounded. The shock in their hearts could not be calmed down for a long time. The chief pagoda master and the others were also extremely shocked. The entire process of Qin Feiyong's attack happened in the blink of an eye. They couldn't stop it even if they wanted to. It was too fast. None of them had expected Qin Feiyong's methods to be so swift and terrifying. Furthermore, he did not expect that he would kill Wu Jian directly. Alright. The fatty in the crowd was also shocked. However, when he came back to his senses, it was as if he had been injected with chicken blood. He roared excitedly in his heart. In front of countless big shots, and even in front of the Qilin tribe's chief, he mercilessly killed Wu Jian. Only someone with such courage and means is worthy of being Fatso's boss, worthy of being Fatso's idol. The square of the Pill Pagoda fell into a dead silence. Qin Feiyong pulled back his arm. His hand was dripping with blood, while Wu Jian fell down powerlessly. The fluctuations of life had already disappeared. Jian! An angry roar broke the dead silence. The chief of the Qilin tribe suddenly stood up and rushed into the sky, holding Wu Jian in his arms. Seeing that Wu Jian was already dead, a substantial murderous aura suddenly rose from his body. Whoosh! He suddenly raised his head and stared at Qin Feiyong. He was like an enraged beast with bloodshot eyes. Qin Feiyong's expression was indifferent. He took out a white robe from his Chenkuan bag and wiped the bloodstains on his hands. He said indifferently, I don't easily accept other people's challenges. However, as long as I accept, only one person can survive. Domineering. Everyone's heart trembled. In their eyes, that frail-looking figure was like a towering mountain, incomparably majestic. I admit that this matter is my son's fault. However, aren't you a bit too ruthless? The chief of the Qilin tribe was furious. Not only did he kill his son, but he also dared to be so arrogant? This was simply unforgivable. Ruthless? Don't be naive. I have no obligation to let go of someone who repeatedly provoked me. He can only blame himself for overestimating himself. At the same time, this is also a warning to some people who have bad intentions and are arrogant. Not everyone in the world will spoil you like your parents. This world is very cruel. Qin Feiyong smiled coldly. He threw away the robe that was used to wipe the bloodstains and landed on the high platform in front of Gong Sun Bei. Gong Sun Bei looked at the chief of the Qilin tribe and then looked at Qin Feiyong. He frowned and said, "You've made a big deal out of this." Qin Feiyong said indifferently, "Before the duel, you didn't say that you couldn't kill." Gong Sun Bei was dazed. He smiled bitterly and said, "So it's still my fault?" "You're not wrong. I'm not wrong. He's the one who's wrong. He shouldn't have jumped out to cause trouble at such an important ceremony. He has to pay the price for doing wrong," Qin Feiyong said. Hearing this, Gong Sun Bei couldn't refute. He couldn't help but look at the Chief Tower Master. "Lord Chief Pagoda Master, please uphold justice for my son. Also, Holy Pagoda Master, my son is your personal disciple. Can you just stand by and watch him die?" The chief of the Qilin tribe looked at the Chief Tower Master and the purple-clothed woman and cried out. The purple-clothed woman frowned. To be honest, she was also very dissatisfied with Qin Feiyong's approach. However, for some reason, she couldn't blame Qin Feiyong. As for the Chief Tower Master, he lowered his head and remained silent. No one knew what he was thinking at this moment. Suddenly, Wang Su said, "This old man thinks that Ancestor Mu didn't do anything wrong. If it were this old man would have done the same." "Father." The purple-clothed woman turned to look at Wang Su. Her expression was full of displeasure. Wang Su turned a blind eye and said indifferently, "Although Wu Jian is talented, he doesn't see the big picture." "What's going on now?" "The Chief Tower Master is accepting a disciple. We old fellows don't dare to talk nonsense. He, a mere disciple, actually dares to jump out and cause trouble? This old man would like to ask, who lent him this courage? Actually, we all know that he is jealous of Ancestor Mu. It can also be seen how narrow-minded he is. Speaking of which, Wang Su couldn't help but sneer and said, "It's difficult for such a person to become a great person." The chief of the Qilin tribe said angrily, "Elder Wang, how can you speak for an outsider?" Wu Jian was the disciple of the purple-clothed woman. The purple-clothed woman was Wang Su's daughter-in-law. So in the eyes of the Qilin tribe leader, they were all family, and Qin Feiyong was just an outsider. Outsider? I'm sorry, but in this old man's eyes, whether it is Ancestor Mu or Wu Jian, they are all disciples of the Chief Tower. There is no distinction between inside and outside. Wang Su said expressionlessly, not giving the Qilin tribe leader any face. "You." The chief of the Qilin tribe was furious. "Enough." But at this moment, the silent Chief Tower Master raised his eyebrows slightly, looked up at the crowd and said, "This matter is indeed Wu Jian's fault. You can't blame Ancestor Mu. Of course, Ancestor Mu doesn't care about the friendship between fellow disciples. It is also wrong. When the ceremony is over, this lord will punish him to face the wall and reflect on his mistakes. And this matter will end here." After the Chief Tower Master finished speaking, he nodded to Gong Sun Bei. Gong Sun Bei understood and handed the teacup in his hand to Qin Feiyong, secretly saying, "See, the Chief Tower Master is obviously biased towards you. Don't let him down in the future." Qin Feiyong nodded, took the teacup, turned and walked in front of the Chief Tower Master, bowed and said, "Lord, please have some tea." "Still calling me Lord? Why are you so stupid?" Gong Sun Bei secretly scolded. Qin Feiyong was stunned, then bowed again and said, "Master, please have some tea." "Good." The Chief Tower Master smiled, took the teacup, and gently took a sip, then put it on the tea table next to him. Gong Sun Bei smiled and said, "Now the third step is to accept the Chief Tower Master's test." The Chief Tower Master waved his hand and said, "Forget about the test, because this lord has already tested him a long time ago." "Already tested him? When? How come we didn't know?" When everyone heard this, they were all extremely shocked. The Chief Tower Master looked at Gong Sun Bei and said, "Explain to them." "Okay." Gong Sun Bei nodded. Then he looked at the leaders of the various tribes and the surrounding disciples and said, I believe everyone is wondering why the Chief Tower Master said this. Actually, Lord Chief Pagoda Master gave Ancestor Mu a huge test long ago. This test was that as long as Ancestor Mu could break through to the Battle Saint realm in 2 years, the Chief Tower Master would accept him as a disciple. And the result was that Ancestor Mu used less than a month to break through to the Battle Saint realm. Gong Sun Bei said. So that's how it is. Everyone suddenly understood. It turned out that Ancestor Mu had already been decided, and this ceremony was just a formality. Everyone could not help but look at Wu Jian with sympathy. If Wu Jian was still alive and heard Gong Sun Bei's words, he would probably vomit blood from anger. Seeing that situation, the leader of the Qilin tribe gloomily looked at Qin Feiyang, opened the teleportation gate, hugged Wu Jian, and without even saying goodbye, left without even looking back. The high priest of the Qilin tribe also hurriedly followed. Serves him right. The leaders and high priests of the other super tribes watched the portal disappear with a trace of schadenfreude in their eyes. If the Qilin tribe leader had come out to stop Wu Jian when he was causing trouble, Wu Jian would not have lost his life. Unfortunately, as a father, not only did he not stop it, he even supported it. Therefore, the Qilin tribe leader was partly responsible for Wu Jian's death. Gong Sun Bei and the others on the high platform did not have much of a reaction to the two's departure. Suddenly, the Chief Tower Master stood up. Everyone thought that he was going to leave and was about to bow to see him off. But he did not. The Chief Tower Master glanced at everyone present and said with a smile, There is one more thing that I want to announce personally here. Announce personally? Looks like it must be something big. Everyone murmured secretly. The Chief Tower Master looked at Qin Feiyang and then at Wang Yuer and said, I believe everyone has already heard about the matter between Ancestor Mu and Wang Yuer. Everyone nodded. Chapter 970. Last night, Elder Wang came to find me late at night to discuss how to solve this matter. After all, Wang Yuer is a girl. If such a thing happens, if it is not solved in time, it will definitely affect her reputation. And after our discussion, we finally thought of a way to have the best of both worlds. The Chief Pagoda Master laughed. Best of both worlds? Qin Feiyang was taken aback, his eyes full of expectation. This was the problem that he had the most headache about now. If there was really a way to have the best of both worlds, it would undoubtedly be a great help to him. Sister, do you know what the way is? Young Master Hao secretly asked. I was just about to ask you. Wang Yuer whispered. Young Master Hao was stunned. Wang Yuer didn't know either. He looked at the Chief Pagoda Master and Wang Su. What method did these two old guys come up with? At the same time, the Chief Pagoda Master turned to look at Wang Su and transmitted his voice. Elder Wang, before I say it, think about it again. It's not too late to regret now. Elder Wang said, At this point, there's nothing to think about, say it. Okay. The Chief Pagoda Master nodded and faced the crowd again, saying, After my discussion with Elder Wang, we finally decided that since the two of them are in love with each other, it's better to fulfill their wish. Now, I will personally grant them a marriage. What the hell? Qin Feiyang was stunned. He never thought that the two of them would come up with such a method. Grant a marriage? Wasn't this too ridiculous? Young Master Hao was also stunned. Wang Yuer looked at the Chief Pagoda Master and Wang Su dumbfounded. The crowd around also became restless. Everyone's eyes were filled with envy and jealousy. He had just become the Chief Pagoda Master's personal disciple, and he was immediately granted a marriage. And it was Elder Wang's granddaughter. This guy was way too lucky. In the future, who would dare to offend him in the Chief Pagoda? The Chief Pagoda Master looked at Qin Feiyang and Wang Yuer and said with a smile, You two have no objections, right? Yes. The two spoke almost at the same time. The Chief Pagoda Master frowned. Wang Su, the purple-clothed woman, and the purple-clothed man also raised their eyebrows without a trace. At the same time, Wang Yuer looked at Qin Feiyang and said angrily, It's a blessing that I can marry you. What can you say? Thank you. But I can't afford to enjoy this blessing. Qin Feiyang said lightly. Bastard, don't go too far. Wang Yuer gritted her teeth. I'm going too far? Let me tell you, I don't want to argue with you. Otherwise, you'll be even more embarrassed. Qin Feiyang said. You. Wang Yue was so angry that her body trembled. She looked at Chief Pagoda Master and Wang Su and said, I don't agree. Don't mess around. Wang Su shouted. Grandpa, this is my personal matter. What right do you have to decide for me? Besides, have you asked for your parents' opinion? Wang Yue said angrily. We've already agreed. The purple-clothed woman said. The man in purple nodded as well. You. Wang Yue pointed at the three of them. Her face was full of disbelief. She had actually decided her marriage just like that? You're too hasty. Have you asked me? I'm not your pet. In short, I don't agree. Wang Yue turned her head. Her eyes were red and she looked very aggrieved. I don't agree either. Qin Feiyang said. This was simply nonsense. Chief Pagoda Master and the other three looked at each other, not knowing what to do. This was originally a joyous occasion, but they didn't expect that the two parties were unwilling. Humph. This matter is not up to you. A moment later, Wang Su snorted. It seemed that he was determined to let the two of them get married. Then I'll die. Wang Yue said angrily. Tears came out. You. Wang Su suddenly stood up and glared at Wang Yue. He shouted, You even dare to disobey my words. Are you trying to rebel? Seeing this, the purple-clothed woman hurriedly stood up and comforted. Father, calm down. I'll talk to her. Talk about what? This matter is settled. There's no room for discussion. Wang Su said. Qin Feiyang frowned and said, Elder Wang, I know your intention, but this is too childish. Shut up. Wang Su glared at him. Qin Feiyang frowned, but in the end, he chose to remain silent. At the same time, the purple-clothed woman walked to Wang Yue's side and whispered, You are in fact, your father and I are reluctant to hand you over to Ancestor Mu, but there's no other way now. Yes, if you and Ancestor Mu don't get married, you will definitely be laughed at in the future. In fact, in the end, this is all caused by you. You have to accept our arrangement. The purple-clothed man also came over to persuade her. Wang Yue said anxiously, But I don't have any feelings for him at all, and he's not worthy of me. Feelings can be cultivated slowly. When I married your mother, didn't we also have no feelings for each other? But look how well we're doing now. As for whether he's worthy of you or not, as your father, I also admit that he is indeed not worthy of you right now. But as long as he is willing to work hard, with his ability and talent, he will definitely achieve something in the future. The purple-clothed man laughed. Seeing that his father and mother had already made up their minds, Wang Yue couldn't help but feel despair. What's going on? Chief Pagoda Master's marriage, and he actually rejected it. Everyone looked at Qin Feiyang in confusion. It was understandable that Wang Yue didn't agree, after all, her family background was there. But what right did this Ancestor Mu have to refuse? Was he stupid? Such a good thing. Others couldn't even ask for it. Qin Feiyang, have you forgotten what I said to you? Suddenly, a familiar voice sounded in Qin Feiyang's mind. He raised his eyebrows, glanced at the young lady of the Dragon Phoenix house, and sent a sound transmission. You came uninvited today. Could it be because of this? What else? I don't have that much free time. The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix house said. Why is that? Qin Feiyang's face was rather gloomy. The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix house said, The reason is very simple. If you marry Wang Yue, you will be able to obtain a higher status, better resources, and more trust. Qin Feiyang said angrily, You want me to use her? You are just a passerby in the Forgotten Continent. What's wrong with using her? The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix house said indifferently. Can a passerby take advantage of other people's feelings? I really didn't expect you to be such a person. Let me tell you, it's impossible for me to do that. Although I can do anything to achieve my goal, I can't deceive other people's feelings. Because this will ruin Wang Yue's life. She is just a simple woman. I don't want to drag her into this mess. Qin Feiyang said resolutely, without any room for discussion. The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix house couldn't help but frown. For a moment, the Pill Pagoda Square once again fell into dead silence. Suddenly, the young lady of the Dragon Phoenix house looked at the four of them and smiled. Although I am an outsider and do not have the qualifications to express my opinion, I still can't help but want to say a few words. Speak. The four of them looked at her. This kind of thing can't be forced, otherwise both sides won't be happy in the future. I think we should think of a compromise. Let's get engaged first. After they develop feelings for each other, we'll talk about marriage. The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix house said. This. The four of them looked at each other and fell into deep thought. After a while, the chief tower master looked at Qin Feiyong and Wang Yuer, and asked, "What do you think? Do I have a choice?" Qin Feiyong laughed bitterly. Unless he didn't want to obtain the Tiangang flames and the 5 colors crystal, he would have to nod his head in agreement. Wang Yuer had no choice. Because she was afraid that if she continued to resist, her grandfather and parents might let her marry Qin Feiyong right now. And if it was just an engagement, there would still be a chance in the future. The chief tower master laughed. Since there are no objections, then Gong Sun Bei, immediately prepare 2 marriage contracts. Yes. Gong Sun Bei respectfully responded, turned around, walked to a tea table, and took out a brush, ink, and paper. After a while, 2 marriage contracts were out. Then Gong Sun Bei took the 2 marriage contracts and handed them to the chief tower master, Wang Su, and Wang Yuer's parents to check them one by one. No problem. The purple-clothed woman nodded, then looked at Qin Feiyong and Wang Yuer, and said with a smile, "You too, come and take a look." The 2 of them stepped forward, each took a marriage contract, and carefully checked it. The general content was that today, under the witness of the chief tower master, Ancestor Mu and Wang Yuer had a marriage contract, and when the time was right, the wedding ceremony would be held. The chief tower master said, "If there are no objections, write down your names." Wang Yuer glanced at Qin Feiyong, then directly cut her fingertip and pressed a bloody fingerprint on the 2 marriage contracts. Qin Feiyong frowned and also pressed 2 fingerprints. This also meant that the marriage contract between the 2 was officially in effect. Wang Su finally smiled. He looked at the 2 of them and said, "Each of you has a copy of these 2 marriage contracts. Take good care of them." As long as there was a marriage contract, the 2 of them would get married sooner or later. No one could run away from it. Humph. Wang Yuer snorted and casually threw the marriage contracts into her Qiankuan bag. She transmitted her voice to Qin Feiyong. "Come to the sacred land to see me tonight." Qin Feiyong was stunned and said warily, "What? Look at you, are you afraid that I'll eat you? Let me tell you, I'm not interested in you." Wang Yuer glanced at him disdainfully and took out a portal. "That's good, because I'm not interested in you either." Qin Feiyong breathed a sigh of relief. Hearing this, Wang Yuer did not feel the slightest joy of relief. Instead, she was so angry that she almost went berserk. "Just you wait and see," she said ruthlessly and was about to open the portal to leave. Puff. However, at this moment, the purple-clothed woman sitting on the chair suddenly trembled, and then she spat out a mouthful of blood. Everyone looked at her in bewilderment. "Mother, what's wrong?" Wang Yuer immediately ran up and asked anxiously. However, the purple-clothed woman did not answer, nor did she pay attention to the chief tower master and the others. She directly closed her eyes. The next moment, she suddenly opened her eyes and looked at the chief tower master. She said in shock and anger, "Someone erased the blood contract I left in the Big Dipper flame." What? The chief tower master's expression changed drastically. He immediately opened the portal and rushed in like lightning. Chapter 971. At the same time, Gong Sun Bei's face darkened, and he shouted, "Seal the main tower immediately, don't let anyone suspicious go." Whoosh! Hundreds of divine envoys, law-enforcing elders, deacon elders, 10 peak masters, and 10 pagoda masters all rushed into the sky and flew in all directions, searching thoroughly. The scene was also chaotic. No one would have thought that someone would sneak into the main tower at this time and steal the heavenly dipper flame. Gong Sun Bei looked at the people of the super tribes and cupped his hands. "Everyone, this is an emergency, so I won't see you off." "It's okay. Catching the thief is more important," the leader of a super tribe said. "See you again." Gong Sun Bei cupped his hands and said, then looked at Qin Feiyong, young Master Hao, and Wang Yuer and warned, "You guys be careful too." After saying that, He opened the portal and left. Who is so bold to enter our main tower to steal? Young Master Hao frowned. The most important thing is that this person can erase my mother's blood contract. He must be very strong. Wang Yuer said in a deep voice. What's your mother's cultivation? Qin Feiyang asked. 8-star War Emperor. Wang Yuer said. So strong. Qin Feiyang was stunned, and then immediately scanned the crowd around him. When he first came to the Pill Pagoda Square, he had already noticed Mu Qing in the crowd. And only the Mu family would steal the Heavenly Dipper Flame. The crowd around him was very chaotic. Everyone was talking at once, and the noise was earth-shattering. Soon, Qin Feiyang found Mu Qing in the crowd. At the same time, Mu Qing was also looking at Qin Feiyang. It's you? Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. What is me? Mu Qing responded suspiciously. Qin Feiyang sneered. Stop pretending. Other than your Mu family, who else dares to enter the main tower? Hee. Mu Qing smiled secretly and said, I knew I couldn't hide it from you, that's right. I asked someone to steal it. Qin Feiyang clenched his fists, and his gloomy eyes were extremely frightening. As soon as Mu Qing admitted it, he had a rough idea. They must have taken advantage of the fact that no one was guarding the sacred ground to let a powerhouse of the Mu clan sneak into the main tower and steal the heavenly star flame. In other words, Mu Qing had used him as bait to attract the attention of all the tycoons. In fact, this was a good thing for him. Because from now on, he could focus on seizing the 5-colored crystal and wouldn't have to waste his energy on seizing the heavenly star flame. But this was also bad news. That was the fire Qilin. If the heavenly star flame falls into the hands of the Mu Jia, it means that he has lost his bargaining chip to exchange for the fire Qilin. The most important thing is that now that his value is gone, the Mu family is likely to announce his true identity. At that time, he would definitely be consigned to eternal damnation. Mu Qing smiled and said, You don't have to be nervous because I won't reveal your identity for now. Qin Feiyang was secretly shocked. Could it be that, as he thought before, he still has other value? Mu Qing said again, As for the fire Qilin, you can also use the heavenly thunder flame, heavenly star flame, and ice flame to exchange for it. Are you dreaming? Qin Feiyang sneered. If he really gave these 3 flames to Mu Qing, then he really had no bargaining chips in his hand. Not to mention, he must go to the miracle. I knew you wouldn't agree, but it doesn't matter. After all, we are still partners. And now that the heavenly star flame is in our hands, we don't need to stay in the main tower anymore. Why don't you come with me to visit the Mu clan? Mu Qing said with a smile. Not interested. Qin Feiyang responded faintly. To be honest, he really wanted to go to the Mu clan. Because in this way, he would know where the Mu clan's nest was. But he knew that the Mu clan was a dragon's pool and tiger's den. Once he went in, he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to come out. That's a pity. But I won't force you. When you want to go, just send me a message. In addition, you have to be careful. If one day your identity is exposed, no one will come to help you. Mu Qing jokingly smiled, took out a portal, and said with a hint of threat. Qin Feiyang's eyes darkened. But then, he seemed to think of something, and a smile appeared on his face. He said, I will be careful, and you, Mu clan, better be careful. What should we be careful of? Mu Qing looked at him playfully. Don't be so confident. I have something in your hands, and you also have something in my hands. For example, if the people in the main tower know that Lu Xingfeng is your second grandpa, how will the main tower respond? Qin Feiyang said. Mu Qing's eyes narrowed slightly, took a deep look at Qin Feiyang, and then opened the portal and left. Qin Feiyang also secretly breathed a sigh of relief. No matter what, at least now it was not completely out of control. At this time, young Master Hao said, Let's go, let's also go to the Holy Land to have a look. Wang Yuer nodded. Qin Feiyang said, You guys go first. What are you doing? Young Master Hao looked at him in confusion. Qin Feiyang said, I have something to deal with. Mysterious, it must be something that can't be exposed. Wang Yuer snorted coldly. Young Master Hao's face twitched, and he teased. Sister, now he is your fiancé. Isn't it inappropriate to say that? Brat, I think you are asking for a beating. Wang Yuer's face darkened, and she immediately pounced on young Master Hao fiercely. What? You still want to go back on your word? Impossible, the marriage contract is already here. Just accept your fate. Ha ha. Young Master Hao fled while laughing heartily. Wang Yuer, who was behind him, was furious. Fiancé. Qin Feiyong muttered, feeling bitter in his heart. He never thought that he would have a fiancé just because of a farce. If it were someone else, they would be overjoyed to encounter such a thing. But he really couldn't feel happy. Phew! Qin Feiyong took a deep breath and looked up at the chief and high priest of the divine python tribe. Brother Mu, congratulations. Brother Mu, please take care of us in the future. The people of the major tribes didn't leave, and they went up to Qin Feiyong to flatter him. Seniors, you are too polite. The one who needs to take care of in the future is me. Qin Feiyong smiled politely. You are neither arrogant nor rash. You are a talent. Everyone nodded. Qin Feiyong jumped off the high platform, walked to the chief and high priest of the divine python tribe, and said with a smile, Seniors, I would like to have a private chat with you. Can you do me the honor? Private chat. All the leaders were dumbfounded. The chief and high priest of the divine python tribe were also suspicious. Of course. The chief of the divine python tribe nodded. Please come with me. Qin Feiyong opened the portal and walked in first. The chief and high priest of the divine python tribe looked at each other and followed one after another. The other chiefs and high priests of the major tribes looked at each other. What was going on? At first, they wanted to curry favor with Qin Feiyong. After all, his status was not ordinary now. But they didn't expect that Qin Feiyong would leave with the two people of the divine python tribe. Do you think that Ancestor Mu and the divine python tribe have some relationship? One of the chiefs of the major tribes asked secretly. But when they heard this question, no one answered. They all fell into deep thought. Because if that was the case, the divine python tribe would undoubtedly have a strong and powerful backer. And the other tribes would be in a bad situation. First Tower. Alchemy Room 10. Qin Feiyong walked into the lounge, pointed to the chair next to him, and said with a smile, Seniors, please have a seat. The two of them sat down one after another. The chief of the divine python tribe said with a smile, Little brother, if you have something to say, just say it. Qin Feiyong looked at the pattern of the divine python on their chests again and said, Is there a man called Pei Zhongfeng in your tribe? The two of them hadn't sat down for long. Hearing this, they both stood up and looked at Qin Feiyong with surprise and doubt. Qin Feiyong had an answer in his heart. When he entered the square of the Pill Pagoda, he found that the pattern of the divine python on their chests was exactly the same as the pattern on Pei Zhongfeng's identity token. At that time, he thought that Pei Zhongfeng might be a member of the divine python tribe. But there were too many people at that time, so it was inconvenient to ask. But now, the reaction of the two of them undoubtedly confirmed his guess. Qin Feiyong took out Pei Zhongfeng's identity token and handed it to the two of them. The chief of the divine python tribe took back his hand with trembling hands and took the token. When he saw the name Pei Zhongfeng, his eyes became misty. The high priest glanced at the chief, then looked at Qin Feiyong and asked, Little brother, why do you have this token? Qin Feiyong said, I found it in Pei Zhongfeng's Chengkuan bag. What? Where is he now? The high priest trembled and asked hurriedly. The chief of the divine python tribe also looked at him anxiously. Qin Feiyong hesitated and sighed. He's already dead. Dead. The high priest was dumbfounded. The chief of the divine python tribe collapsed in an instant, his face full of grief. Who is Pei Zhongfeng to you? Qin Feiyong looked at the two of them suspiciously. The chief of the divine python tribe looked at the token silently and was extremely sad. Alas! The high priest sighed deeply and looked at Qin Feiyong. Little brother, to be honest, Pei Zhongfeng is our biological brother and Pei Yi's biological father. What? Qin Feiyong was dumbfounded. He did not expect that the person he was looking for was Pei Yi's biological father. A moment later, the chief of the divine python tribe looked up and asked, Little brother, do you know how my brother died? Where is his body now? I don't know how he died either. All these years, I've been trying to find out more about him, but to no avail. As for his body, I buried him in the 3rd region. Qin Feiyong said. It's been so many years, and I finally got news of him. However, I only got news of his death." The chief of the mysterious tribe lamented and felt as if a knife was being twisted in his heart. Qin Feiyong asked, "You don't know the cause of his death either?" "No. My brother was born with a simple heart and never chased after fame and fortune. He only liked to cultivate quietly. Back then, our father wanted him to inherit the position of the chief of the divine python tribe, but he refused. Because of this, he even quarreled with our father. In the end, he ran away from home in a fit of anger. Since then, there has been no news of him. All these years, we've been looking for him too. But we all thought that he was hiding somewhere in the central divine kingdom to cultivate in seclusion. Hence, we only looked for him in the central divine kingdom. Unexpectedly, he actually went to the 9 regions. Chapter 972. He left home just because of this? Qin Feiyong was surprised and asked, "Was Pei Yi born when he left?" "Not long ago," the chief of the divine python tribe said. Qin Feiyong immediately shook his head, his eyes full of disappointment. He thought that Pei Chongfeng was a great figure, but it turned out that he was just Ozo. Because, to put it nicely, he was indifferent to fame and fortune. To put it bluntly, he was childish. Besides, Pei Yi was already born at that time. It was irresponsible of him to leave just like that. In other words, he was selfish. After a long time, the chief of the divine python tribe looked at Qin Feiyong and said, "Little brother, I hope you won't tell Pei Yi about this for now." "Yes. Yi loves and hates his father. If he suddenly knows about his father's death, I'm afraid he will have a mental breakdown." The high priest nodded and agreed. "I understand." Qin Feiyong nodded and said, "But Pei Chongfeng is his father after all. He should know." The chief of the divine python tribe pondered for a while and said, "I'll find a suitable opportunity to tell him. By the way, did my brother leave behind any other relics?" Qin Feiyong was a little hesitant. Of course there were relics. Sacred weapon ice blade, 6th grade alchemy fire, 6th grade alchemy furnace, and a large number of medicinal herbs. But he had already forgotten what medicinal herbs there were and how many there were. The 6th grade alchemy fire had long been devoured by the netherworld demonic flame. In other words, the only things he could return to the divine python tribe were the ice blade and the alchemy furnace. The alchemy furnace did not matter. Anyway, it was broken and useless. But frankly speaking, he could not bear to return the ice blade to the divine python tribe. Seeing Qin Feiyong hesitate, the chief of the divine python tribe smiled and said, "Little brother, don't get me wrong. I'm not asking for these relics. After all, you got them with your own ability. We have no right to ask them back. I just want to see if I can find out the cause of his death from these relics. You can rest assured. I've already checked and found no clues about the cause of his death." Qin Feiyong said. The two of them looked at each other with a trace of disappointment in their eyes. Crack. Suddenly, the chief of the divine python tribe clenched his fists and said in a deep voice, "No matter what, we must find out the cause of his death and avenge him. Yes, whoever dares to hurt the people of the divine python tribe will have to pay the price." The high priest nodded, his eyes filled with killing intent. However, Qin Feiyong shook his head non-committally. After such a long time, it was unrealistic to find out who killed Pei Zhongfeng. After a while, the chief of the divine python tribe put away the token and cupped his hands. "Little brother, thank you so much. If you have time in the future, remember to visit my divine python tribe." "I will." Qin Feiyong nodded and smiled. "Then we'll take our leave first," the chief of the divine python tribe said. "Take care. I won't see you out," Qin Feiyong said. Then, the chief of the divine python tribe opened a portal and left with the high priest. Strange. When the teleportation gate dissipated, Qin Feiyong could not help but frown. One had to know. Pei Zhongfeng had a high status in the divine python tribe. And the chief of the divine python tribe was Pei Zhongfeng's younger brother. If it were him, he would definitely ask for the exact location of Pei Zhongfeng's burial and then immediately bring Pei Zhongfeng's body back and bury it in the tribe. However, the chief of the divine python tribe did not even ask. Was this the attitude of a younger brother? After a while, Qin Feiyong whispered, He must be too sad and hasn't reacted yet. This was the only explanation that made sense. He stood there and pondered for a while. Then, he entered the alchemy room and put away the alchemy furnace. Then, he walked out of the alchemy room and flew toward the Holy Land. Everywhere he passed, the disciples he met were extremely respectful. About half an hour passed. Finally, a huge object entered Qin Feiyong's sight. It was a stone tower, dark and towering, exuding an ancient aura. Opposite the ancient tower, there was a steep giant peak, like a giant sword, towering into the clouds. That was the place where the disciples of the Holy Land cultivated, the Holy Tower and the Holy Peak. Qin Feiyong flew straight to the Holy Tower. In front of the Holy Tower, there was a square of about 1,000 feet, paved with a layer of green stone slabs. At this moment, the square was full of people. Even the surrounding void was filled with people. They were all disciples of the Holy Peak and the Holy Tower, and each of them had extraordinary strength. Ancestor Mu. As soon as they saw Qin Feiyong arrive, their pupils constricted. There was fear. There was envy. And jealousy. Qin Feiyong stopped in the air and scanned the crowd below. After a while, he did not see Elder Wang and the others, so he looked at a disciple and asked, "Where is Elder Wang and the others?" "They have all left. They should be discussing this matter with the Chief Tower Master," the disciple said. Qin Feiyong pondered for a while, opened the portal, and directly descended in front of the Chief Tower Master's courtyard. Last time, he had been here with young Master Hao, so he knew the coordinates. As the disciple said, the senior figures of the Chief Tower were all here. The Chief Tower Master, Elder Wang, and Wang Yuer's parents were all sitting in the pavilion. The rest stood around the four of them. They did not speak. Their faces were gloomy. The atmosphere was extremely solemn. Young Master Hao and Wang Yuer stood on the path between the flower beds, looking at those people from afar. Swish! Qin Feiyong flashed, landed beside the two and asked, "How's the situation?" "We didn't catch that person. We didn't even see that person's shadow." "But..." Young Master Hao's face was also very ugly. "But what?" Qin Feiyong asked. Young Master Hao said, "Someone found Qin Feiyong's trace in the holy ground." "Bastard!" Qin Feiyong's eyes suddenly surged with anger. It was obvious. This must have been done by Mu Qing on purpose. As for why Mu Qing did this, it was nothing more than to shift the target. Now the people present probably already thought that it was him who had snatched the heavenly star flame. This Qin Feiyong is simply too lawless. We must find him and execute him in public. Sure enough. In the pavilion, a peak master of the warrior mountain said with a murderous aura, "We all want to find him, but the problem is that this person comes and goes without a trace. We can't do anything to him at all." Gong Sun Bei said, "Bastard." The Chief Tower Master slammed his palm on the stone table and said angrily, "Our dignified Chief Tower, there are countless powerhouses, but we can't do anything to a kid like him, aren't we a joke? Investigate immediately. Even if we have to turn the forgotten continent upside down, we must find him for me." Gong Sun Bei's eyes trembled, and he hurriedly went to make arrangements. After Gong Sun Bei left, the Chief Pagoda Master looked at the 10 Peak Masters. The 10 Pagoda Masters said, "All of you, stay in your positions and guard against any potential dangers. If something like this happens again, I will hold you responsible." "Yes." The 10 Peak Masters and 10 Pagoda Masters respectfully responded and hurriedly left. At this point, in the pavilion, only the Chief Tower Master and the other 3 were left. The Chief Tower Master looked at Qin Feiyong and the other 2, and said, "The 3 of you come here." The 3 looked at each other and quickly walked over. The Chief Tower Master said, "You all know the situation, now tell me, do you have any good ideas?" Wang Yuer was silent. Young Master Hao was silent. Qin Feiyong was also silent. What a joke. He was Qin Feiyong. How could he help these people to come up with a plan to deal with him? The Chief Tower Master raised his eyebrows, looked at Qin Feiyong and said, "Ancestor Mu, you speak." "Me." Qin Feiyong was stunned. Why did he mention his name? Wasn't he deliberately making things difficult for him? After a while, Qin Feiyong cupped his hands and said, "Forgive this disciple for speaking bluntly, but it is almost impossible to find Qin Feiyong." "What do you mean?" The Chief Tower Master and the other 3 looked at him. "It's very simple. Since he dared to enter the chief tower and steal the heavenly star flame, then he is not afraid of us finding him. But there is one thing that this disciple still can't figure out. Qin Feiyang said. What? The chief tower master asked. As everyone knows, Qin Feiyang has someone protecting him, but who is this person protecting him? And our chief tower controls the entire Forgotten Continent. Who has the courage to go against us? Qin Feiyang said. The four fell silent. Qin Feiyang said again, in fact, we don't need to specifically look for Qin Feiyang, we just need to find the person behind Qin Feiyang. Makes sense. Wang Mo nodded. In this way, the scope was reduced a lot. Because there are not many people in the Forgotten Continent who have the ability to break into the chief tower and dare to go against the chief tower. The purple-clothed woman suddenly said, I think the only one who dares to go against our chief tower is the Mu family. Mu family? The chief tower master frowned. The purple-clothed man said, then who is the mysterious madam behind Qin Feiyang? The purple-clothed woman said, why don't we make a bold guess? Could this mysterious madam be from the Mu family? You mean, the Mu family is a thief pretending to be a thief? The purple-clothed man was surprised. I don't exclude this possibility. The purple-clothed woman said. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed and he said, Master, Elder Wang, Auntie, Uncle, there is actually a simpler way. Say it. The four looked at him, their eyes full of expectation. Qin Feiyang said, before I say it, this disciple wants to ask, is there any secret hidden in the heavenly star flames? Obviously, this was asking the obvious. When the four heard this question, they all fell silent. There really is a secret? Young Master Hao and Wang Yu looked at each other, their eyes flashing with a touch of surprise. After a while, the chief tower master looked up at Qin Feiyang and the other two and nodded. There is indeed a secret, but this secret can't be told to you yet. Then how many people know this secret? Qin Feiyang asked. Not many. The chief tower master shook his head. Then it's simple. Let's start from this point. Anyone who knows this secret, go and investigate it. I think it must be one of them behind the scenes. Qin Feiyang said. Yes. Such a simple reason, why didn't we think of it before? The four looked at each other. Qin Feiyang did this because he wanted to turn the tables on the Mu family and put some pressure on the Mu family. Moreover, he can't always be the scapegoat, right? Chapter 973. Inside the Pavilion. The pagoda master and the other three were lost in thought. Qin Feiyang was also silent. After a while, the pagoda master looked up at the three and said, you should be thinking the same thing as me. The three nodded. The pagoda master said, well, from now on, pay close attention to the Mu Jia's movements. Old man, since you all suspect that it's the Mu Jia, just send someone to ask. Why do you still want to spy on them? Young Master Hao frowned. I say, what are you thinking about all day long? Do we have any evidence now? No. We're just guessing. In this case, we can't directly question them. The pagoda master said angrily. There's one more thing, the Mu Jia doesn't know yet. We've already begun to suspect them, so we won't be particularly cautious. But if we run to question them now, they will be very careful in the future. In this way, no matter how we investigate, there won't be any results. Qin Feiyang added. Chief Pagoda Master looked at Qin Feiyang with admiration. Soon after, he looked at young Master Hao and said with a straight face, do you see that? This is the gap between you and him. In the future you should learn from him and use your brain more. Humph. Young Master Hao coldly snorted and glanced at Qin Feiyang. He looked quite dissatisfied. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. He looked at the pagoda master and said, this disciple also wants to do something. Please help me. In fact, he wanted to take the opportunity to find out the location of the Mu Jia's nest. The pagoda master was stunned and smiled. I won't let you take risks, but I'm very pleased that you have this intention. Qin Feiyang's eyes suddenly showed a trace of disappointment. The pagoda master thought for a moment and said, but there's one thing that I can give you to deal with. What is it? Qin Feiyang asked. The pagoda master said, go to Qinghai. I'll tell you the details in a few days. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded. The pagoda master smiled. Then you go do your work. I still have something to discuss with old Wang. Disciple will take his leave. Qin Feiyong bowed and saluted. Then, he turned around and walked out. Young Master Hao chased after him in big strides and said angrily, "You bastard, you're really in the limelight." "Is there?" Qin Feiyong shook his head and smiled bitterly. Keep pretending, keep pretending. I'm afraid that in the old man's eyes, you're more important than me, his own son." Seeing Chief Pagoda Master's attitude towards Qin Feiyong, young Master Hao's jealousy exploded. Qin Feiyong said helplessly, "All right, it's my fault. I shouldn't have stolen your limelight. Why are you apologizing? I'm not blaming you. I only blame myself for being useless. No matter what I do, I can't satisfy him." Young Master Hao sighed deeply and asked, "Where are you going now?" "Of course I'm going back to the first tower to cultivate." Qin Feiyong smiled. "You really are a cultivation maniac." Young Master Hao rolled his eyes and said, "You don't need to go to the first pagoda now. The old man has already arranged a place for you to stay in the Holy Land. I will take you there." "It's arranged?" Qin Feiyong was stunned. He followed behind young Master Hao, walked out of the courtyard, and walked down a secluded path. But gradually, he frowned because Wang Yuer was still following behind them. "What do you want to do?" A moment later, Qin Feiyong finally couldn't help but stop and turn around to look at Wang Yuer angrily. "Me? What do you mean?" Wang Yuer was a little stunned. Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows and said angrily, "If you don't have any ulterior motives, why do you keep following me?" "Following you? What a joke!" Wang Yuer sneered without hiding it, walked straight past Qin Feiyong, and then walked forward without looking back. "What's going on?" Qin Feiyong was stunned. Young Master Hao had been snickering at the side. After Wang Yuer left, he looked at Qin Feiyong and said with a low smile, "I forgot to tell you, sister, you also lives in this direction, and it's not far from where you live." "Ah!" Qin Feiyong's face twitched. It turned out that he had misunderstood Wang Yuer. That was awkward. Young Master Hao's eyes flashed with a hint of ridicule and he asked, "But speaking of which, how should I address you now?" "What do you mean?" Qin Feiyong was stunned and looked at him suspiciously. "Originally, I called you brother. But now, you and sister you have taken off the engagement, so shouldn't I call you brother-in-law?" Young Master Hao said. "Brother-in-law?" Qin Feiyong was stunned and hurriedly waved his hand and said, "Forget it, I really can't afford it." "Hee. It seems like you don't like this sister of mine at all." Young Master Hao smirked. Qin Feiyong shook his head and said, "It's not that I'm resistant." "Then why?" Young Master Hao was slightly stunned and asked curiously. Qin Feiyong said, "I don't want to talk about feelings at the moment, and I don't want to let someone down." Young Master Hao was surprised. Could it be that this person already had someone he liked? A moment later, the two of them came to a lake. The lake was very large, covering an area of several miles. The lake water was clear, reflecting the blue sky and white clouds. In the center, there was a piece of land about 1,000 feet long like a small island, sitting in the center of the lake. "This is?" Qin Feiyong looked at the lake suspiciously. Young Master Hao said, "This is the Soothing Lake, and also where we live." "Soothing Lake?" Qin Feiyong was surprised and said, "Shouldn't I go to the Holy Tower?" All the disciples who entered the Holy Land either went to the Holy Tower or the Holy Peak. Why did young Master Hao bring him here? The Holy Tower is where ordinary disciples stay, and you are my father's disciple. How can they compare to you? Young Master Hao smiled proudly. "I see." Qin Feiyong suddenly understood. "Let's go." Young Master Hao smiled and soared into the sky, flying toward the small island in the center of the lake. Qin Feiyong followed closely behind young Master Hao, scanning the lake below. The surface of the lake was very calm, but there were turbulent waves below. He could even feel the aura of the emperor beasts under the lake. Young Master Hao explained, "There are thousands of beasts hiding in this soothing lake. Among them, there are 10 war emperor-level beasts, responsible for protecting us." "So many?" Qin Feiyong was shocked and asked, "What about the other beasts?" Young Master Hao said, "Sacred beasts." "All of them?" Qin Feiyong was surprised. "Yes, all of them." Young Master Hao nodded. Qin Feiyong was speechless. For someone of his cultivation level, this place was simply a dragon's lair and a tiger's den. A dozen breaths later, the two of them landed on the small island. On the small island, the fragrance of flowers was everywhere, and the scenery was pleasant. Lush green grass and verdant little trees swayed in the wind, displaying endless vitality. A clear stream meandered across the entire island. The stream flowed slowly, and colorful fish jumped up and down, adding to the tranquility of the place. In the center of the island, there were a total of 3 courtyards, standing side by side, only 100 meters apart. According to young Master Hao, the first courtyard was Wang Yuer's residence. The second courtyard was young Master Hao's own. As for the third courtyard, it was Qin Feiyong's future residence. Qin Feiyong looked at them one by one. Compared to the second and third courtyards, the first courtyard was more beautiful and tidy. There were all kinds of flowers planted in the courtyard. On both sides of the gate, there were 2 vigorous peach trees, blooming with peach blossoms, and a strong fragrance. At this moment, Wang Yuer was standing under the peach tree, and the petals fell down. Her hair and dress danced in the wind, making her look like a flower fairy, especially charming. Let me tell you, everything on this small island was basically arranged by Sister Yu. So you'd better not destroy it, or she will definitely come and find trouble with you. Young Master Hao warned in a low voice. Qin Feiyong's head suddenly swelled a little. He did not expect to live in the same place as Wang Yuer. However, he was very satisfied with this place. Not only was the environment good, but it was also very quiet, very suitable for meditation. Thud. The two of them walked along a winding path and arrived in front of the third courtyard. This was originally Gong Sun Bei's residence, but later he moved to the Divine Envoy Hall because he had to take charge of the Divine Envoys. As young Master Hao spoke, he pushed open the gate of the courtyard and walked in. There was a pavilion in the courtyard, surrounded by a flower bed. Most of the flowers had withered. Many petals had fallen on the ground, and they were already rotten, emitting a rotten smell. On one side of the pavilion, there was a 2-story pavilion with carved beams and painted rafters, and it was quite charming. Young Master Hao smiled and said, "No one has lived here for a long time, and some places are a little messy. Clean it up yourself." "Okay." Qin Feiyong nodded. Young Master Hao looked up at the first courtyard and said in a low voice, "There's one more thing that I have to tell you. Don't enter my sister's courtyard without permission." "Why? Is there something that can't be exposed?" Qin Feiyong was suspicious. "Isn't your imagination a little too rich?" Young Master Hao rolled his eyes and said, "She doesn't like others to disturb her." "I see." Qin Feiyong nodded in realization and said with a smile, "That's very similar to me." "All right, you're all freaks. I'm the only normal one who likes to be lively. All right, I won't disturb you anymore. I'll go to the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion for a while. I really hope to see her face soon." Young Master Hao looked at the sky and laughed foolishly. Then, he opened the portal and left without looking back. Miss Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. Qin Feiyong pondered for a moment, shook his head, and began to tidy up the courtyard. Wang Yuer looked at Qin Feiyong from afar, and also entered the pavilion without saying a word. An hour later, Qin Feiyong cleaned up the courtyard inside and outside, then went to take a bath, changed into a clean set of clothes, and sat on the balcony on the second floor. He took out the jade slip that the young lady of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion gave him and carefully looked through it. Isn't this the legendary invisibility technique? 100 breaths passed. Qin Feiyong suddenly opened his eyes, his face full of excitement. This was a battle art that could make one invisible. It was called the concealment art. The concealment art did not have any offensive power, but it could hide one's body in the void and turn invisible. Even if you stood in front of others, they would not be able to see you. It could be said that as long as he mastered this concealment art, Qin Feiyong would be like a tiger that had grown wings. Then came the question. Why did the young lady of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion give him such a precious battle art? You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.